Welcome to a special rock and roll full moon edition with yours truly, Adrian, on a dragon challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match since 2018 when he first imposed tariffs on the Canadian aluminum and steel. Freestyling for the full moon. Please channel the energies accordingly, appropriately. Full moon does influence it. There is the irrational, emotional side of life. It's not all about that plus, and mathematics and logic. There is something mystic, and the irrational and emotional, which we gotta consider. So be safe out there, please. Channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. That's Dragon Army way, yours truly. Pledge your allegiance. These are the gloves, which was gifted by yours truly by my anonymous friend. If I make a man, I'm gonna give half since 2018, and I put them to good use. You know, I've been on the fitness journey for 7 years now, ever since I got up being depressed and suicidal, and lost between 80 and 93 pounds. It is past 10:44 a.m. in the morning, maybe almost 10:45 now, because of course time is on the clock. That second, yours truly. Butchers, LOV to the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. All those in the daycares changing some diapers across Quebec, Canada, and across the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, across the North American, because we are, myself, North American, Quebecer, Canadian, North American. Got that Canada tatted up, and his team Canada, yours truly, North Americans unite, because yours truly is Quebecer Canadian, was born in a past life twice, as a man, once as a woman. You get that 50-50 now. In the United States, post 7076, and twice I served in the United States Army. You just gotta read that. Through a glass darkly by George Patton. Yours truly, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and it's yours truly, something which we gotta consider as I'm gonna go for that breakfast 24/7. Rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors. North Americans Unite is the song, and the sun is somewhere that way, and I'm joyous today. I encourage you all to carpe diem it every day. Gotta get it for the forgotten goddess, GODDSS is something that yours truly wills to build. The forgotten goddess temple, as yours truly was gifted these. Great, red, my favorite color, that's what I said. Dragon versus Trump. Since 2018, of course, I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border due to the imposition of those tariffs. And of course, now with the threat looming of 25% tariffs, I got to give a salutation to my uncle, Uncle Legault, Prime Minister, of course, of Quebec. Uncle Legault, of course, is the Prime Minister of Quebec here, Canada, in North American Complex. And of course, Francois Legault has stated something very interesting, of which I will meditate all day throughout the day as I do my exercising, my morning rituals, and head maybe off to the mountain on this cold day before the storm. And gotta put some coffee again, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise. And what he said, Francois Legault, was something I do not like to repeat exactly words, because sometimes, you know, I like to put I don't like people to twist my words either. So being an Aspie, sometimes I have to be more detailed, and that's something which makes us neurological citizens of this planet more neurodiverse, and makes us have certain, of course, difficulties in social interaction. But other than that, we can be great, and especially at our special interest in geopolitics. And of course, his comments were, of course, relating to the geopolitical events of today, which are mainly Quebec, Canada, North American, concerning the threat of the looming tariffs. And he stated something well, that we should focus on partnership. Again, I do not want to put words in anybody's mouth. I do not want to put words in anybody's mouth. I do not will to put words in anybody's mouth. You know, I always try to be as possible, as just as possible, being a pro-labor and love revolutionary centrist. I am for the North American Civilizational Complex integration parallel similar to the North American Union. And Francois Legault stated that we should focus on, I believe, fighting was the words. Got to double check me if I'm correct. Uncle Francois Legault. I got some LOV for Francois Legault, though sometimes, of course, there's certain issues or certain things that I do not fully agree, certain protocols. But being a Quebecer myself, Canadian, you know, I relate to Francois Legault as an uncle, as I relate, of course, to Justin Trudeau as a cousin, and to my fellow Quebec family here, North American family, and to my brothers and sisters in the USA. Challenging Donald Trump. I'm going to say Granddaddy Trump, Dragon versus Trump edition. Let's fight on the Canadian-US border. I don't know about that 51st state, but you know, rather than get in positions of 25% tariffs, I said if my brothers and sisters in the USA want us to join, and I am for the North American Union to create a common passport, create a common currency based on my philosophies, and of course integrate for security, service, and defense, part of my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex, for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex, across the North American civilizational complex, as of course we constitute a collective new emergent geopolitical complex in its entity, which is new and emergent, and of course constituted from many people who have come here to the new world, and of course who contribute, and all my willing, loving brothers and sisters pledge your allegiance to our family. But here in North America, we constitute a new emergent civilizational complex, which is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So as a philosopher, you always have to keep that in mind and bear that in mind, as my philosophy for the North American civilizational complex is first and foremost that we constitute an emergent civilizational complex, which is not divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So those appellations, you have to construct them in the mind, and of course there's more in depth to it. So as relating to going back to my uncle Francois Legault's words, and my uncle Francois Legault's words, he has some wisdom which I do not fully possess myself. We can always complement each other. And always, I myself as a neurodivergent has to live with Asperger's, also known as high functioning autism. It's always building bridges between myself as a neurodivergent and the neurotypical world. And my, of course, domain kingdom is geopolitics. I can discuss and converse, and I do 24/7 geopolitical analysis and theorizing. And of course, the words of today are, which I'm going to mainly focus on and dissect and add and complement and do analysis and revision to my geopolitical theorizing, and of course my prediction, because it's very important to people will understand that in 2019, in October, November, I had predicted that the world is going to go towards an international conflagration, aka World War III. So basically, I have proof of that work online because I did several videos since 2019, correction, so I'm marking 5 years. And of course, I've been on a World War III type of mode because I predicted that many civilizations, nation states, and regions were not able to fully, pacifically resolve their conflicts from the 20th century, and those conflicts are going to restart in the 21st century. For many parts of the world, in the Russia-Ukraine crisis dates from the 20th century. In the Middle East also, Israel, Palestine, Israel and Hamas, Israel and the Middle East, and potentially China and Taiwan, those are conflicts which date from the 20th century. But here in the North American civilizational complex, we made several compromises for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex, something of which, as a Quebecer, the French language, the great linguistic compromise which we made long ago, and something which I got to discuss to my brothers and sisters in the USA, because myself included, we're 10 million Quebecers, 9 million Quebecers who love our language, French, and come learn a little bit of that French with us. It's not only Celine Dion, also we have a great culture, great cities, great landscape, and of course, great hydroelectric. Gotta give some shout out to that Hydro-Quebec workers now, who build all the complex of the dam, 63 dams, and we need to build some more. So for me, for you, to us, to have electricity which is clean, zero pollution, zero emission, and by which I'm able to do everything that I'm doing today in my home, including doing this video. So I gotta send some LOV to the butchers, the truckers, Hydro-Quebec workers, the plumbers, LOV to the plumbers, LOV to the electricians, LOV to the grocery store clerks, LOV to the warehouse workers, LOV to those in the flipping some burgers, some cheeseburgers all across the workers of the North American collective civilization, LOV for them, because I'm also an artist, a philosopher for the workers, but I'm a centrist. My centrism is pro-labor and revolutionary centrism. So my centrism is tied hand in hand with my Trinity of theories, which I'm calling first and foremost to be implemented across the North American collective, what I call the Great North American Civilizational Complex, North America, the CIT, the Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, the Debt Fusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory, to be implemented via the fourth dimension. And that fourth dimension, it has to be some love. And I say to my brothers and sisters in the USA, if you want to, I don't know about that 51st state, I am for joining in a parallel North American Union to have a common passport, a common currency, my DRT best for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Union, which I discussed and will discuss in the future. And of course to have a common defense, security and service, but only and strictly for the defense, security and service, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, for the defense, security and service of the North American civilizational complex. And of course my protocols and initiatives, also Operation Northern Scorpion, my total mobile defense theory, which I cannot be overly verbose about it, because that theoretical mobile defense theory, the T, total mobile defense theory, the TMDS, the total mobile defense theory, has more sensitive to the North American civilizational security issues, and I cannot overly discuss the implementation of that theory fully online, because it's a matter for national security, and it's a matter for Quebec security, for Canadian security and for the North American collective civilizational security as a whole. But it's a theory which has to also be implemented via my protocols of theory, of course, the CIT citizen integration theory, and of course Operation Northern Scorpion. I'm just gonna put some coffee. Say my gratitude again, although financially stressed. I'm financially stressed, financially stressed. I'm grateful, thankful my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit for the coffee to get a little bit down. And the tariffs are not in yet. The tariffs are not in yet. There's hope. And my brothers and sisters, similar to my Uncle Trump, to my granddaddy Trump, when I'm not a Trump supporter, I'm not a Trump supporter, I do not support the policies of Trump. Of course, I would have voted for Harris and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but nonetheless, I agree for North American integration. I don't know about that 51st state, but my granddaddy Trump, knock him out with the left and with the right, Dragon versus Trump, let's fight. Me and you, Donald Trump, on the Canadian-US border, and let's build. Together, Canada-US, by US and Canadian steel and aluminum, the great North American People's Imperial Coliseum. That is my dream, to build on the Canadian border. Construction workers rock and rolling those steel toes, LOV, washing some feet I offer on the table, and that's the new table right there. So I gotta put some kisses and some rock and roll with it, but I will to dream to build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, because here in North America, we channeled the aggression and we channeled, because we had wars in the past, and now we got us only, like my uncle Francois Legault said, Uncle Legault with his wisdom said, now we got to unite Canada-US together and fight. Who wants to fight us outside of North America? Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And my brothers and sisters, all who come to join us here in the new world, in this great North American civilizational complex, thou art also my family. Pledge your allegiance, thou our family, Here in the North American civilizational complex, financially struggling, but grateful, thankful my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, and got food and coffee. And yours truly, I say to my brothers and sisters in the USA and Donald Trump, of course, I don't know about that 51st state. I believe my dream, my protocol is best for the North American integration, the North American Union, and of course to maintain the individual. Because the sovereignty of the individual is sacrosanct. It's always the individual and the collective, the public-private partnership. And my brothers and sisters, millionaires, billionaires, Wall Street, finance the firefighters, public workers who pick up the garbage. Thank you, LOVE, to pick up the garbage, pick up the compost, pick up the recycling. Those who do the sanitation of our great mega cities and big cities as Montreal, Hawk Island. I live in a metropolis, and small cities and medium cities, millionaires, billionaires. Finance them a massage therapy session. They deserve it. They earn more than yours truly, me. Although I'm on a fitness journey and wish I crave for one, cannot afford it financially, but I'm grateful that I'm going to be taking a bath anyways. So my brothers and sisters, I don't know about the 51st state, and yours truly with the continuity of the initiative since 2018, the Dragon versus Trump, to build a ring made of Canadian joint to US aluminum and steel, and let's build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum. And the first sports event is going to be Dragon versus Trump, a massive structure that let's build together, Canadians and my brothers and sisters in the USA, a massive structure for sports and fitness and recreation, In truth, we don't need the border. We need to do a great census to see who's been living here and assess the linguistic capabilities of all who've been living here for, let's say, since the past 7 years. And I've been living here in my underground room office and temple for more than 7 years. I remember just moving a few years ago and was depressed, suicidal. In 2017, I crossed Canada coast to coast. 2017, I crossed Canada coast to coast. 2017, I crossed Canada coast to coast with my anonymous friend. And that event in August and September made me just realize such a country we have. When I was in Banff, I was like, wow, it was like so majestic. The mountain ranges in Alberta, Banff. And when I reached Banff, I had a revelation, and that changed my whole life. Because I had an awakening. I said so many things to see, to do across North America, across Quebec, across Canada, across the United States. Although I was born here in past lives, incarnations, sometimes a Quebecois, a woman, sometimes a man. So you get that 50-50, yours truly, rainbow dragon right here. But nonetheless, of course, when I was born in the USA, was once a woman, twice a man, and served in the United States Army, same US Army, 2 different wars, 156 years apart. And I still want to go visit again in this life the Grand Canyon. But my brothers and sisters in the USA and Granddaddy Trump, you cannot impose tariffs on us. If you want us to join you as the 51st state, throw a parade. Throw a big parade across the 50 states with some cheerleading, some football, gridiron, some dancing. Say, join us. We love you, our cherished state. Come and join us. Something, a good parade or something with some LOVE. because it's not about the money. Donald Trump, of course, responded, and without hesitation, and the question whether he will use military force to of course unite with Canada, or whatever the terminology we use, annex in the geopolitical realms. Of course, whether we integrate, I prefer integrate, because like the European Union did the integration, I believe it is our common destiny to integrate. But you also have to take into consideration such things as myself as a Quebecer, North American, a Quebec Canadian, North American, Quebecer Canadian, North American, as a Quebecer Canadian, North America. I got that Canada. See, I got the tattoo there, Canada. This must have been decades ago, because I don't remember how I had it. Probably a long time ago, because I lost, I've got some memory loss. I just remember mostly past like 10, 11 years, and moving here from a moldy place and getting out of being depressed and suicidal and unfinished journey, and created my workout training program system and survived COVID. I got to be sipping on some coffee now. Let me put a little bit some more, but I got to say that I'm marking between February and March, between February 7th and March 7th, beginning of February and March 7th, 2020, I had COVID right here in this room of St. Temple. I was so sick and ill. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. That's how I really felt. And I died right here in this room of St. Temple, and I'm being reborn. Nothing that I want to go back to. Of course, officially don't have the finance money to change my name officially, but Adrian Hunt, a dragon, nobody is born a dragon. You become one by blood, sweat, and tears, and trillions and billions of push-ups and marching steps. Already in February, I marched more than the generals of NATO combiners. I marched to my second home, the mountain. Mount Royal Belvedere is my second home in this life and in a parallel life. So from here, this underground room of St. Temple, we got to get that concordium, to get it on the go. And we got to be mindful of everything that we got to do. And it's also doing so, as my uncle Legault said, we got to focus on integrating and strengthening each other and working more and more together and getting that defense coast to coast. Not in those words exactly, but to focus, I think he believe got to double check, because I do not like to put words in anybody's mouth, especially my uncle Legault, which I'm not a CAC member, but I'm a Quebecer, Quebecers are my family, and I would defend if there ever be an invasion. I was the first one to go do some drills and rock and roll, implement Operation Canadian Dracula, implement Operation Canadian Dracula, whatever, implement Operation Canadian Dracula or Operation Northern Scorpio, to get that coast to coast, ocean to ocean, to get it on the go. And but we made a great linguistic compromise here to have the continuity of peace across the North American collective, across Quebec. You have to understand, I have to explain to my brothers and sisters in the USA, throw us some party and invite us properly. Invite us. Maybe we say no to the invitation to the 51st state, but say yes to my ideas, my proposals to do a census, and create a common passport, North America common passport, and of course to have a common currency, common passport, do a census of everybody who's in Canada, US, and North American passport, North American integrated currency, and integrate new 911 protocols for the North American security service and defense integration. And in reality, we don't need the border. I believe that security-wise, we got to focus on the airports and the ports, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and the airports. Airports, I believe, our focus for security. Canada joined the US. I'm not going to go into a detailed discussion, but I believe our focus is best not on the border, but to do the census, to create a North American passport, to have given some amnesty, of course, which I discussed in the past, my protocols for the North American criminal rehabilitation and certain levels of degree for the building of those 44 tunnels, which I've discussed in the past. I'm going to address now because I'm on the topic. I called for the building of 44 tunnels, the number following 43 before 45 is 44, in order to, in case of a thermonuclear war. I've written a theoretical paper, of which I've written many, in regards to geopolitics and sociology and aspects to the geopolitical theoretical analysis of the North American civilizational complex. And of course, one of them, and mostly focused on the defense, security, and service, the main essence is that my theories, protocols, and of course theoretical papers and philosophies, which I've written as the People's Doctor, who presented the thesis in 2023 entitled Civilization is a Privilege. And of course, civilization is a privilege, or the privilege of civilization. I'm calling for the construction and the building, along with the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the massive structure on the Canadian-US border, symbolizing our integration and our joint brotherhood and sisterhood and family. And of course, invite us properly, not with tariffs, but with a good party, with some good cheerleading and ELOV, Canada, let's join. Maple Leaf, that red, with the stars, I said. With the red, I said. With the red, I said. And the stars, two beautiful flags merge, and I'm wearing the flag of the dragon. I got this exactly more than 7 years ago when I crossed Canada coast to coast. I haggled some prices. I got a little bit of prices off, but I haven't ever since, auctioning it for $1 million, auctioning 93% of everything that I'm on, everything that I'm wearing now, including this. Rock and roll for $1 million. Gonna give 50% off to my anonymous friend and pay my $10,000 debt and buy those first bricks and first shovels and first whatever utensils for those 44 tunnels, because we need to build 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex, for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex, for the continuity of the North American civilizational complex. So as this full moon to full moon special 40 day and 44 ride is, of course, I gotta say that I am calling for the building of 44 tunnels across North America, inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain complex and inspired by the Montreal underground village. We have miles and kilometers away, a great feature of engineering. Salutations and NLV to the engineers, construction workers, the butchers, the electricians, the plumbers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, those in the daycares changing some diapers, those truckers on the road, the farmers, the butchers, the welders, the electricians, all the general workers of the North American Collective, especially those who made less than 50,000 last year, myself included, financially stressed, but open for business. And I got some theories and proposals, and of course, being neurodivergent, living with Asperger's, which is not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition, which makes us and myself and many Aspies part of a tiny minority, because only less than 1%, less than half of a percent, less than 0.44%, so not even 1 out of 300 has this neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's. And I always have to build bridges between myself as a neurodivergent and others who misunderstand or label in certain ways, and maybe certain more negative ways, but it has its positivity. And yes, myself, in certain things I am less able, I am mediocre, I am average. Being average, mediocre, and so in certain things, social dynamics, and have certain awkward bodily movements or aspects, we tend to get too close in conversation when we converse with fellow citizens. We tend to breach the personal space. We're less able in social dynamics, but I have my strengths and aspects. We have our strengths and qualities and capabilities. And when it comes to geopolitics, to the fact that I predicted in a general manner, not in an overall manner, back in 2019, in October, November, I predicted that the world is heading towards an international conflagration. And ever since, I've been kind of in a World War III mode. So just going to say some coffee. Just for the coffee, I'm going to do a meditation, to those who brewers, and to bring it here, because coffee is important and coffee prices have been rising. But I got to give a shout out because somebody donated me a bag. So be blessed threefold. And all those to do some charity. And please, millionaires, don't be so selfish. It's time to mass finance. I'm also calling for mass financing fitness. It's time, billionaires, Wall Street, great tech. If there's going to be some massive unemployment, my protocols and initiative, I've been, of course, calling for this ever since COVID. And you see, I have hundreds of workout videos online. I created the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. I created an efficient, simple, and effective workout training program, which has several layers of parameters of scientific, the body science. The body science has complexities, but has a simplicity to it, that it requires no equipment. But it was also, keep in mind, that I created it to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, where the population would need to be mobilized and would need to increase in general overall fitness. So you can check hundreds of my workout videos. And of course, when I reached 300, that's when I said that I turned officially my surname A into an O, the A into an O, A into an O, Dragon became Dragon. And of course, I survived COVID 5 years ago in 2020. I had COVID right in this room off St. Temple Underground in Montreal, Hawk Island. And I say I died 5 years ago. I'm being reborn, nothing that I want to go back to. And I live carpe diem it every day to the fullest. But I'm open for business and pleasure, business from pleasure. Friends with benefits only, please. Friends with benefits only, please. Spread your allegiance to our family. Friends with benefits only, please. And we got to get that North American Union. Yes, but my brothers and sisters in the USA, Dragon versus Trump, let's inaugurate and build. And I will to build something again, not only the 44 tunnels and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, also the Forgotten Goddess Temple, as today full moon begins and ends Saturday. So it begins now, the full moon, 3-day ride for yours truly, 3 days of ritual dancing and cleaning activities and meditation for the full moon as a Thelemite and as a mystic. I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to have all the answers. As spiritual, I do my sun salutations and moon adorations of the moon. And goddess, I created my surviving COVID, my surviving being attacked by surprise, my surviving being depressed, suicidal, my surviving moving from a moldy place. If I say that if I would have stayed over there, I would have died, you know. I'd have probably ended up dead or in jail by now. Dead or in jail by now. But I created my survival and my change, because I changed a lot. And in the past years, you know, I have accepted in the past like 45 months that I have Asperger's, because for many years I've been diagnosed, I've been told that I have Asperger's, and you know, it's something that it still has some stigma. It's more and more understood because it's not a mental illness. It's just our brains are different. So we have a brain. It's not really a disease. It's not a mental illness. Yes, in certain things we are less able. We're less able. We're less capable. We're less. We can. We have difficulties. We have certain difficulties with certain things. Aspects. We do social awkwardness, social interaction, certain things which really don't get, or we can be really useless, myself included, in some things. But we definitely have our strengths, and usually our strengths and our knowledge revolves around those things which aspects like myself have, which are called special interest. It can be one, two, or three, usually around three special interests, where those interests preoccupy our daily activities and routines, are formulated in accordance to in being involved in those activities. Whatever, it can be science for somebody, it could be history, it could be mathematics, it could be whatever the case may be for different individual Asperger's. For myself, my holy trinity is geopolitics, 24/7, for years and years and years. The study, the analysis. I've written hundreds of pages, thousands of pages on geopolitical analysis and theorizing on different USB keys by hand. And of course, I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. And with geopolitics is sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is a sport. Dancing, I can dance for hours, and dancing is my favorite fitness activity. And rock and roll, that's my holy trinity with that. That's my holy trinity with that. That's my holy aspect trinity. And I can be intense daily. I can spend hours and hours and hours just analyzing geopolitical events, which of course the main one as a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, yours truly, that is concerned with, is to make the best possible to find some solution to say no to the tariffs. Truth, we don't need the border. We need to integrate. We need to do a census ASAP, a great North American census, create a common passport, a common defense security service policy, integration 911 protocols, and we need, of course, to create a common currency best, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We need to play that defense. My granddaddy Trump, yep. Sometimes to get a little bit of spanking. I don't like bullies. We cannot, I understand peace through strength. I really do. I understand peace through strength. I really understand it. But I cannot support it fully, because we cannot just base our civilizational complex in strength. In certain areas, defense, coast to coast, strength is required. Force is required. But we cannot just base our interactions and our civilization, so diverse, on merely on strength. As much as I understand peace through strength, there's also understanding an LOVE, which is required. My brothers and sisters, understanding an LOVE, which is required. Understanding an LOVE, which is required. You know, I've been tolerated so much with my Asperger's. It has been very difficult. For my anonymous friend, I wish to make $1 billion, $1 trillion, $1 million, to give half and build a forgotten goddess temple. Goddess, because my survival, I credit my survival to the GODDSS, to the goddess. To my brothers and sisters, Quebecers, Canadians, my brothers and sisters in the USA, and all ALL, willingly loving allies and armies, first and foremost, I got 718 trillions of kisses. Trillions of kisses for all willingly loving, trillions of kisses created from the goddess. I will to build the forgotten goddess, GODDSS temple. The goddess doesn't need my temples really, because she dances with the sun and I'm a piece of dust. The goddess, forgotten goddess, has countless millions of names. She birthed the sun. The fruit which she bore is the sun. The fruit which she bore is the sun. The fruit which she bore is the sun, you know. So I'm just a piece of dust, little androgynous scar clit, dick clit, androgynous little general clit, dick, general dick clit, you know. But nonetheless, I, you know, for defense, security, and service, you can put that generalship out. Give me some push-ups, give me some squats, drop down, give me some squats. I already marched more than the generals of NATO coming on the Mount Royal, coming and back around the island of Montreal for miles and hundreds of miles and kilometers only this month of February. Already marched more than the generals of the free world in NATO. We cannot base just on strength. My brothers and sisters in the USA and my granddaddy Trump cannot put tariffs if you want us to join and become 51st state. Gotta throw us some parades, throw us some LOV, give us Canadians a discount. That's why you want us to join the 51st state. Say I'm gonna invite Canadians, Quebecers, give us some free hotels to come visit the 50 states. Give us some parades, let us have some parties. Let some LOV, some my children dance in the streets. Because that's the only one I would pour and be armed and carry a weapon for, to defend the youth and the children of Quebec, Canada, North America, to see their joy, Because no matter my financial stress now in the Wall Street business and your billions, I know that somewhere around in Quebec, whether they have money or not, whether in Canada they have money or not, in the USA, whether they have money or not, I know that they're dancing, they're having fun. The 16-year-olds, regardless of our egos and our BS, your Wall Street clique, whatever clique you got there, you know what I mean? I know that somebody's making LOV now. That's the only, you gotta fight for that also, to fight to defend that. Some youth falling in love for the first time, dancing freely, being joyous freely. It's cold now in the sun, whatever, but somewhere down in Florida, I have the Florida juice here. I didn't begin to boycott yet because there's no tariffs yet. We don't need to go down that way. For Canada, send your best general of the U.S. Army, send them. I'll fight them one-on-one. Canadian West border on the Mount Royal, send your best general. Look, clit, Rainbow Dragon is willing to fight, but fight for, also we gotta fight for somebody who's making that good love, man. It's not all about the money. It's not all about strength. We can be fierce and strength, I understand, because we have enemies. Freedom. How many of us are? Freedom is a new thing, My brothers and sisters, blacks, my neighbors included, 13.3%, 13.4%. I'd rather just be hugging, kissing my black brothers and sisters for blacks, African American, and playing some football and dancing, rather than doing the whatever the case is. And we have in us still racism. It's hard to admit. Now we deal with some things, right? It's hard. To be totally honest and be, I have certain things, not perhaps consciously, but sometimes subconscious, right? Subconscious. Sometimes there's subconscious forces which we have, the irrational, I'm financially stressed. I lost a lot of employment. I lost a lot of jobs, but due to my Asperger's and whatever case may be, having autism, HFA has not been easy. I'm different. I know I'm different. I love my rock and roll. Friends with benefits only, but do only that defense, and why we can't carry armed force, whatever your security forces or armed forces, to use lethal force only for defense. So freedom has to be ensured. I want to see a executive order signed for the rebuilding of the North American infrastructure, including the North American urban infrastructure, the ghettos of the North American Collective. Where's the executive order for that? To build the ghettos. That's what I would do also. An executive order for the mass financing of the rebuilding of the North American inner urban cities, to rebuild the ghettos. Billions and billions and billions. Put 44 billion for that, Elon Musk. I'll volunteer. I'm going to put some paint in the neighborhoods where, we're going to have some redemption. Freedom. Tattooed there, freedom. From what I know from my journals, I tattooed it in New York City by somebody who, supposedly because I have journals and writings, but I'm not yet capable to fight in the fight of freedom. Freedom is new under the sun, Mr. Solomon. Freedom is new. I don't owe nobody nothing, really, except for maybe one person who I guess tolerated my weirdness, aspiness, and sometimes outbursts and moodiness, because I was depressed and suicidal. I credit my surviving to the goddess. That's what I will to build. The forgotten goddess temple. And my brothers, there's people who are gender diverse also, myself included, androgynous. Don't fall in the binary. Yes, we're working to build more non-binary bathrooms, and some people to use those bathrooms and integrate the sports. Dancing is my favorite sport of fitness. You got to take that 50-50 compromise. The individual and the collective. The individual and the collective. The individual and the collective. It's always something which is a balance. You know? I'm joyous. Financially stressed, but I paid my rent. Paid my electricity bill. When I go to the mountain, my second home, I'm joyous. When I see youth dancing and laughing and cheering, they're joyous. I know somebody now, innocently, they're going to dance across the USA, maybe in Florida. Maybe some children, youth, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18 or whatever, going to dance and hug and have a good time. Maybe from the workers who got this. This comes from Florida orange juice. Florida orange juice. Let's have some drink. From the Florida orange juice. Florida orange juice, see? I'm not boycott yet. My brothers and sisters in the USA, if you want us to join you, I would, if there would be an invasion, United States would be invaded from China's army or Russian army, I'll go running towards the south to come defend my brothers and sisters. Not just because I was born in the US in past lives, but I do believe, I know, I was born in the USA 3 times post 1776, once as a woman, twice as a man. I served in the same United States Army, 156 years apart in different wars. You got to read one of my favorite poems, George Patton's Three Glass Darkly. I would go to defend, but not to defend the billionaires in the Wall Street only, because it's not all about the money. Where's the executive order to raise the federal minimum wage? Where's the executive order to raise the federal minimum wage? Where's the executive order to raise the federal minimum wage? I would definitely sign an executive order to raise the minimum wage for the rehabilitation of the incarcerated population. A centrist approach, Centrism best sometimes for the individual and the collective. As I'm not totally selfless, but ain't no way if I would have billions, and if I would have had 44 billion right when Trump got elected on the 6th of November, I would have put hoodie on, got dirty hoodie on, and I would have went incognito, and I would have taken 10%, and out of those 44 billion, 10% would have been 4.4 billion, that would have been 4,000 million. 44 billion, 10% is 4.4 billion. So that's 4,000. A billion has 9 zeros. I would have went and distributed 50,000 to men and women, homeless and vets across North America, Quebec, Canada, North America. I would have whispered, I said, this is 50,000. This is your second chance. This is my redemption. This is your second chance. This is my redemption. This is your second chance. This is my redemption. You know? Because it's something which I would have done. Charity is also important. Yes, fight. But not only, you gotta have some LOV, but fight for defense only. My Dragon Army initiatives are for defense, like that hardball ball, aka black hardball when my 49ers lost. Please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. Give 10%. Give some charity. Owners of the sports leagues. Give some of my first expenses going to be for the Professional Women's Hockey League. And I'm calling for the establishment of the Dragon Army, Public-Private Partnership, and the North American Integrated Dancing, the Dancing Goddess Army. Dancing is my favorite sport. It's going to be from today until the full moon, and the new day 44 is going to be a lot of dancing and cleaning and working out and doing these sessions, because the tariffs are not in yet until March 4th, the new deadline, of course, these 30 days to negotiate it, as my Uncle Legault said, and I don't agree fully with Uncle Legault. But if there will ever be an invasion, I will be the first one to go join. But only for defense, to defend coast to coast, ocean to ocean. My fellow Quebec family, Canadian family, and North American family, and the family which I got now, which, of course, I'm still going to propose again. I got no for the first answer, but sometimes you got to be insistent, you know, and be pushy a bit. But I'm still going to propose a marriage alliance, but I'm androgynous, pansexual, you know, part of the LGBTQ community, you know. So there's going to be a special marriage alliance, you know, maybe, whatever the case may be. But freedom, like I said, you know, it's all these sexuality. Like I said, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and before I just mentioned the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National MLB. There's how many are officially part of the LGBTQ community? Players opening the playing, none, zero. Statistically, that's impossible, right? So they are definitely on each team, probably one or two. But I understand money pressures and economic pressures. You know, it can be, but cannot bully us for economic force either. I know, I'm glad that Trump, when he asked the question, was going to use military force without hesitation, he responded, no, economic force. But how about some economic love? Yeah, economic force. Give some charity, Donald Trump. Invite Canadians. Give discounts. Give us some free tickets. Pay us a week to see the Grand Canyon. To see the 50 states. Hire some buses. Want us to join the 50 states? Let's put some Canadians on the bus. Do a rotation. As I invite all to the banquet, my brothers and sisters in the USA, only for the North American Union. The Dream, the Dancing Goddess, and the Dragon Kingdom from Mount Royal, my second home. That would have been a different manner to be, to invite us Canadians, because say, let's discuss it. What's the invitation? 51st state? I'm for North American integration. Let's have a conversation. But not through imposing tariffs of 25% on fellow Canadians. I can go rock and roll on Donald Trump. I'm gonna box. Let's build together the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, a mass coliseum, where our security forces, our garbage collectors and public workers and nurses, because it takes a public-private partnership, can come and have tickets and can have spectacles and 24/7 and every day different events, Canada joint with discount, and to also finance the less favorable to go from the neighborhoods of the USA to go have channel the aggression, and the aggression needs to be channeled because there is aggression. It needs to be channeled, just like sexuality. If I repress, I know there's many repressed out there who are still in the closet. I've been in the open for many years, but I made a lot of friends at different pride parades. I went to a lot of pride parades in Montreal. I did go to a lot of pride parades in Montreal, but I lost a lot of my friends, I lost a lot of my friends. I lost a lot of friends I made, almost all, I guess. Have some online, because Aspies, we can be very weird. We have to be told, and sometimes we can be rude and direct and abrasive. Seemingly, it's not because we will to offend. It's just because we have our brains are wired differently, and we can be inclined towards abrasive directness and rudeness. We don't mean to offend, really, right? So myself, as a geopolitical theorist, analyst, Quebec, Canada, yes, in theory, Quebec, Canada, but not with just a right wing, just pro. You got to give some executive orders to raise the minimum wage, some executive orders to raise the minimum wage. So I was doing president. Let's say Canada would be by now the 51st state. Of my candidacy as the Democratic Republican president, as the Democratic Republican fused individual and the collective. My centrism is public-private partnership based, and what I call my universal revolutionary centrism is North American centric and fundamentally based on public-private partnerships. So let's do a public-private partnership to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, a mass structure. The North American People's Imperial Coliseum and the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Not just blah, 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 put on the table. I'm willing to wash some feet for the construction workers, willing to wash some feet, do some massages, finance the public workers, the nurses, and the firefighters, finance the firefighters, Wall Street billionaires, finance the firefighters, and the public workers who pick up the garbage, the compost, and I got the recycling, 3 services, which are part of the public works. We need to rebuild our infrastructure in the public works, give an executive order for that. And I would put definitely as a tax for the billionaires and millionaires, 10%, because I believe 10% charity is the way to go. I believe 10% charity is the way to go. I do believe 10% charity is the way to go. In terms of being charitable, right? 10% I believe is the way to go. So, my granddaddy Trump, let's inaugurate that building by me and you fighting on the Canadian-US border. And let's say hypothetically Canada will be the 51st state, and I would definitely candidate to be the 51st president. I will have 11 executive orders. 11 executive orders on the first day, 11 executive orders. One would be to mass rebuild the North American infrastructure, mass rebuild the North American inner cities, aka the ghettos, rebuild mass investment in the rebuilding of the ghettos of North America, the infrastructure. So let's do it with professional sports leagues and public-private partnership, and rebuild, of course, build those 44 tunnels, and invest in also things for pleasure, for the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose, for recreation, and mass financing citizens for sports and fitness. credit some financial way to do my workout, which requires no equipment, and to dance. Let's build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and let's get together the North American People's Imperial Coliseum and the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League. That is my dream, as I dance, the North American Integrated Dance League, and the Dragon Army. The North American Integrated Security and Service and Defense Force only for security, service, and defense. In the North American Collective, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, like that hardball ball, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens, and also known the blackout ball, and one of my favorite Super Bowls in the top five again, as I'm celebrating right here in this room of Sun Temple. Surviving COVID back in 2020, survived COVID, you know. COVID was quite something. It was like death, pestilence, and disease for me. I thought I was going to die. In many ways, I did die. I know it sounds like a hardcore death metal trash song when I say death, pestilence, and disease, but that's how I felt. And my trinity on COVID, now I'm going to have to discuss a little bit of that, because there's a revision from the CIA that supposedly, CIA stated that officially now we are to believe, we are to know as facts that actually COVID was a virus, man-made virus engineered in a laboratory in China. So that was not my first belief. I always first and foremost believed that it was transmitted from snakes. I had my trinity on COVID, the origins of COVID, my holy trinity on the COVID, origins of COVID. So first and foremost, I believe that it was transmitted from snakes. Second, I believe it was transmitted, first belief, I believe it was transmitted from snakes. Second, I cannot rule out another possibility, whatever that other possibility be. And third, I don't know. Fourth dimension to that trinity, that I believe that was transmitted from snakes to human beings, and I cannot say for sure because I have a doubt, so it could be something else. And third, I cannot rule out another possibility. Fourth dimension to that trinity is what I do know 100%, without a doubt, is that before COVID in 2019, before COVID in October, November, I had predicted an international conflagration. Just before COVID, and then I had COVID. And of course, like I said, now with the new revision, we have to check, because biological warfare, kids, is possible, you know. So now that the new revised, it's something which we got to pay attention to. And like I said, the border, we can do without. It's best if we focus coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the ports and the airports, and then the internal. And my theory, the total mobile defense theory system, or the TDM, total mobile TMD, total mobile defense theory system has to be integrated. My brother, again, as much as maybe personally I don't like Trump, but not liking and not disagreeing, that let's not make enemies of each other. We're not enemies, we're brothers and sisters, we're a family, North American family. I am for North American integration, but because I do believe we can strengthen each other. Like I said, I don't know about that 51st state. Let's say I do not necessarily oppose it, but I have my very pro-labor and love, and very for the people, and very for more social justice inclination, but in a centrist manner, because I understand the individual and the collective. It's always a balance and give, and we have to have some justice. And yes, second or third chances to our brothers and sisters also, who have lost their liberty and freedom to be incarcerated, you know, to put them maybe some mass public works. I would say to my brothers and sisters to go for the North American some protocols, which I started writing about 7 years ago. I continued during COVID writing them a lot, for the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, the North American Integrated Criminal Rehabilitation Act, or the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, to put them to work on public works. There's so many parks across North America, parks and benches that need to be painted. Go put some paint, do some public works. The aqueducts, the sewers, there's massive public works which we need to do. Massive public works. And we do need to rebuild internally the North American urban cities, our infrastructure, our bridges. The North American ghettos also, my brothers and sisters. You know, it has to be rebuilt. I got to give a salutation, you know, to my brothers and sisters. I got to give a salutation to my brothers and sisters, blacks, you know, my neighbors included. I have black neighbors, you know, my black brothers and sisters, you know, and it's 13.3, 13.4 of my North American family are my black brothers and sisters. And sometimes, you know, we got to put on the table, and yes, we still have racism exists. Sometimes it's subconscious. Discriminations and stigma can be subconscious. We're moved in a certain way, which we do not really know, do not really know about it. And myself, friends with benefits only. If you're black woman, black man, and you want to make LOV with Rainbow Dragon, I rather prefer we do some good hugging, good kissing, good dancing, together. We made it so far, North Americans with our diverse population, and money I don't have to give, but I wouldn't be reserved to give to my fellow brothers and sisters who are black, of course, to whatever the case may be, to get doing. And of course, I had a scene in mind, because sometimes we have certain things which were stereotypical in us, and we can only get some more justice by some action, but nonetheless, I imagined a scenario, in the movie. So again, keep in mind that I'm a financially stressed Aspie artist, so if you do utilize this idea, just give some charity. Otherwise, I'm gonna fall karma on that thunder and lightning gonna trip. That karma, thunder, lightning god is gonna trip. Lightning, thunder god is gonna trip. But give some charity for whatever. If you take this scene, I imagined a scene where a white police officer, catches a black male criminal, and he's reticent. Says, if you already have something priors, and if I give you this, you might go to jail for, let's say, I don't know, 3 years. So you never been to jail, but this one's gonna give maybe a few years to go because you stole whatever for some stealing or some drugs, let's say. So I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I don't want to do that on the ride, or whatever. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I think you have some goodness in you. You have some redemption. I said, how many states? The white police officer in this hypothetical scenario asks the black male criminal. So how many states have you seen across the 50 states? He said none, but New York. He said, all your life you lived in New York. All your life you lived in New York. See? You want to go to Rikers? You want to go to... Or it could be LA. It could be LA. He said, I never left California. LA, let's say, whatever. Or New York or LA or somewhere else. If you go to jail, you're going to get... If I bring you to the... You're going to go to jail for years. Right? The white person say. And the white police officer asks the black male who committed the crime by drugs, let's say drug possessions, drug possession. Said, I understand there's people, consumers, and you're selling, whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. But said, and the police officer asked, this is a hypothetical scenario for a movie, for a flick of which I'm an artist. I'm also creative. So if you take this, just credit, and you can do it. I guess I relinquished because it's Black History Month, but only for, I guess, for reconciliation and for better relations, with my fellow brothers and sisters who are blacks, 13.3, 13.4, my neighbors included, so to do a movie and to give to, if you do this scene, maybe give some charity, to black causes and those more in the neighborhoods, and whatever the case may be. So a white police officer who decides to ask some questions before bringing the criminal in. So he asks, how many states have you seen across this 50 states USA? And he says, none. I always lived all my life in California, and let's say California, LA, Compton, or whatever the case may be, Compton. So you've never been anywhere outside California, outside LA, really, right? Never. I said, not really. You never been outside. I said, you know how much things are to see out there? How much to see out there? He said, you ever been to Quebec? I said, I've been to Quebec, the police officer. He said, no, I don't know what's that. He doesn't even know what Quebec is. I said, Quebec? Or he said, yeah, I heard about Quebec. They French over there, right? He says, yeah, speak French. I said, I went last year. I was just amazed to speak the French language, and there's like 9 million Quebec here up front of North who speak French. I said, I want you to cross the United States and go. I said, go all the way to Quebec, all the way to Montreal. All the way to Montreal. I said, but promise me that you will never ever commit a crime, or unless you have to steal food if you don't have food, and you'll not commit violence. So he makes that kind of promises, because if I bring you on these drug charges, you're gonna get 3 years or 3.5 years. You're gonna get 42 months. You're gonna get 42 months minimum. It says minimum 42 months, maybe more, 3.5 years. You're gonna lose your liberty. The white police officer said, "This liberty, freedom is something new. Your ancestors didn't have it. My ancestors didn't have it. Right? Our grandparents didn't really have it. We have it a little bit now, the police officer, but it requires great effort, and insurance of freedom, right? Because it has to be insured in many ways, So the white police officer decides to not bring them in and to give him like a second chance, you know, to give him a second chance. So that's kind of a scene of a movie, you know, that kind of a second chance, you know, kind of like a second chance which he gives. Says, because I don't believe that that's gonna do justice to you. Says, I don't believe that that's gonna do justice to you. Says, I don't want to bring you, you know, to. I know the judge is gonna give you minimum 3.5 years, and you're gonna go to jail in one of those California, LA jails. You know, you never been outside of California. Says to the one he caught with, let's say, a kilo of whatever cocaine or half a kilo. He's gonna get some jail time for it because he's already had some priors priors for theft and drug possession. So for sure he's gonna get, because the three strike law, whatever case, the cops know he's gonna get time in jail. So he decides to ask those questions of the black male who's been caught with possessing criminals. He knows that he has priors, so he says, you know, I'm gonna let you go, but promise me one condition. He even gives him some money. Says, I don't have a lot, but here's $1,000. Says, here's $500, whatever. Says, I don't have a lot. I also have to pay mortgage. Cop salaries are not. You would have made more than me selling that dope. But I'm giving you this second chance. Says, I don't wanna catch you again. I don't wanna catch you again selling drugs, doing that. Your freedom, your liberty. You would have lost 3.5 years of your life. He says to that person, I don't want to do that. I'm white. I'm a white police officer. You're black. You know, whatever he says, whatever else is discussed or a dialogue can be said. I'd rather you promise me, I give you some money, you can take a bus and go see some states in the USA and go all the way to Quebec to hear some French. You never experienced that. You never lived that. So anyways, that's for a little bit of a dialogue, a cinema dialogue, which I had in mind, like, you know, for the reconciliation, and he does I guess he kind of believes that he does some justice with that, you know, justice with that. And it could be two different scenes. It could be a black police officer. It could be a black police officer. It could be a black police officer who does that to a white criminal, you know. It could be that a black police officer who could do. It could do both. It could be both scenes, you know, both scenes, either or. You know, says, you're caught, you're gonna go to jail 3.5 years. I said, I don't want to do that. How many states have you visited? And the black police officer says to the white Caucasian criminal that's being caught, and the black police officers know that he's gonna get 3.5 years, 42 months. Says, I've been to Quebec last year. I never been there in my life. They speak French over there. And he gives him $500. And I believe I'm not gonna do justice by bringing you into the night. I believe you have some redemption in it. So anyway, so that's just the scene, you know. So that's why I say to my Trump granddaddy, Dragon versus Trump since 2018. If you want to invite us to be the 51st state, invite us to some, you know, some cheerleading, some parades, some marching bands across the 50 states, and some singing. Come join us, become our cherished 51st state. Come join us, be our cherished 51st state. And I'm sure then, with that type, most Canadians, myself included, will have a more open heart to that. Because I'm still going to be Quebecer Canadian. I'm going to be part of North American complex, of the North American civilizational complex. As I do believe in North American Union, integrated, create a common passport, a common currency, a common defense, security policy, and rebuilding this North America. Because we can only strengthen each other, but strength is not enough to just based on strength again. You have to have some LOV, you know. I know somebody's making LOV now. I'm thinking of dance today. So that's always going to get on that hope, rock and roll, you know. I want to go visit the 50 states, and that's a proposal. And then we can discuss this. So I'm calling all to the banquet on Monroe, all in well, willingly loving, to the banquet on Monroe, leaders of the Free World CEOs, to discuss my Trinity of theories, and including my Operation Northern Scorpio, which I'm calling, of course, for the North American complex to implement Operation Northern Scorpion. Scorpios, there's a one species of scorpion, the creeping creature scorpion, which comes all the way to Canada, which is, of course, a scorpion which comes all the way to Canada. So that's something which we got to do. And see, I got these sandwiches now. I'm just gonna eat and meditate a little bit, so because I'm getting a bit on the hungry side. So got these sandwiches. They're eggs from Canada, and the butter is from the USA. The orange juice is from the USA. The coffee is somewhere else imported. I'm not sure exactly where. The buns are Canadian, so, and I've got Canadian eggs. Eggs by the chickens are really, they don't have our dimensions of nation states and nation statehood, but I am very pro North American. I believe in creating a common passport, a common currency. I believe my public-private partnership, the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership. When I say support my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom is fundamentally the Democratic Republic of North America, the North American Union via strong public-private partnership, a common passport, of course, and defense, security service, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and a common currency. So we got joint Canada-US breakfast, because the tariffs are not in yet, so I'm not officially boycotting like my uncle Legault said. The tariffs are not in yet, and he has some wisdom. I'm not a CAC member. He has some wisdom, which I gotta protrude and complement with my neurodivergence and my geopolitical analysis and my theories. But there's some wisdom, Francois Legault, and one of them is, I said, is not boycotting yet. It's not maybe time to boycott any U.S. products yet, because the tariffs are not officially in yet. We have a deadline March 1st, as I put my new deadline full moon to full moon for my proposal, from this full moon to the next full moon, to propose again a marriage. But being financially stressed, I gotta get that ring secondhand. If not, I'm gonna have to carve one myself. Have a carve a ring to propose a special marriage alliance. So if you're gonna ask 51st State to propose us, do us a great marriage proposal. Just throw some banquets across the 50 states and some singing and some marching bands, and say, come become our 51st State. That would be the way. That would be the way. That maybe more Canadians more consider, because now I believe 15%. 15% is 15 out of 100. So we can't really say 1.5 out of 10, right? It's 1.5, but out of 100, 15% of Canadians support the 51st State idea. So 15% is not that small, because it's more than 10%. No. More than 10%. Well, this is good sandwich. Canada, US. Romaine lettuce from California, by the way, in it. Romaine lettuce from California. By the way, inside the sandwich, it's eggs, butter, and romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce from California. Bread from Canada. Eggs from Canada. So it's Canada, US joint. Let's unite. But propose us something nice. And sign some executive orders to rebuild the North American ghettos, to raise the minimum wage, and to tax your billionaire boys and the billionaires and the millionaires 10%. 10% tax. That's President, that's yours truly, Democratic Republican. 10%. And let's build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. When you say God bless Canada, God bless Quebec, God bless America, I always got to get that goddess kisses. Because God blessings ain't enough. You got to get that goddess kisses. Where the goddess at? Huh? Where the goddess at? Huh? Where the goddess at? When you're God, G-O-D, but I always say, where the goddess at? G-O-D-D-S-S, eh? Gotta get that goddess, man. I'm a mystic also, I don't have the answers. I do not have all the answers. Far from it. I really don't. Oh, it's a good sandwich. Better than I was expecting. So Canadian eggs, Canadian bread, made in Canada bread, and butter from the USA. It's actually plant butter, so it's vegan butter, and romaine lettuce from California, all the way from California. All the way from California to Quebec, get it for the dragon, rock and roll, knocking Trump with a left, with a jab. Sportsmanship, though. It's important to channel the aggression and to use force and aggression For defense only. For defense only. D, D, D. D, 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 defense. Let's put some more coffee. It's important to play defense, defense, defense. So playing defense, I'm going to use the other hand because I got to... This one's greasy a bit, this one's okay. So, just because I got to be mindful of, this is my anonymous friend, and thank you, thank you, thank you. If I make $1 million, I'm going to give $1 billion, $1 trillion, $1 billion, $1 million, $1 trillion, and 50% of every $1 million I'm paying to my anonymous friend, and I would definitely, but my will to build, construct the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple, Forgotten Goddess, Geopolitiks Goddess Temple on the Canadian-US border. And the pyramid, scarlet, crimson, scarlet are shades of red. The pyramid, the House of the Dragon. The House of the Dragon, the House of the the House of the Dragon. And the fourth building which I will to build is the Rainbow People's Palace. The Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergents and fellow members of the LGBTQ community. For my homos, LOV, for my homos, for my lesbians, LGBTQs, and yes, there are people who are not binary, you know. There are people who are non-binary. There are people who are not, who are both men and women, who are androgynous or who are trans, you know. A lot of people deserve second chances, second, third chances. I know I had mine. Maybe I had 11 chances already, you know. But that's I will to build here in this new world, Forgotten Goddess Temple, or the Temple of the Goddess of a billion names, 1 trillion names. The goddess has many names, you know. Cannot pronounce the goddess names lest I get thunder on my head. Because I'm not holy, I'm not spiritual enough to pronounce the goddess's name. If the goddess gave birth to the sun, who now rises and now sets, you know. We have Papa Crowley, bury me with Papa Crowley up in New Jersey. A third of me, my father, Papa Crowley is buried in New Jersey, Hampton, New Jersey. Papa Crowley is buried in Hampton, New Jersey. What a fool. The greatest poet ever. Lots of rock and roll from Aleister Crowley, aka Portarabo, you know. Lots of... He's buried in Hampton, New Jersey. Oh, Hampton, New Jersey. So we cannot base everything on strength, you know. It has to be some LOV. Love to the farmers, love to the butchers, love to the bakers, love to the cooks, love to electricians, to the plumbers, to the grocery store clerks, to the electricians, those changing some diapers in the daycares. You know, I have unpublished children's books because I couldn't afford the $500 to pay a literary agent, and I struggled. I had many employments, many jobs, which I loved during COVID, especially with the senior citizens. But, you know, with Asperger's, sometimes we can focus on certain details and do certain things or propose to do certain things, which can be taken to be more abrasive or rude or offensive. But we have to be told directly, you know, because I can make concessions and compromises. But anyways, I had many employment jobs during COVID and before, but they were short-lived, contract, a few months, a few here and there. But nonetheless, I paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my rent. Those are the first bill, and I was able to afford to move the budgeting to pay because it was on special thanks to my anonymous friend to get Netflix, and I'm gonna do a revision soon of the Rebel Moon, which is I saw part one, so I need to see part two. But the first one I liked, and Umbrella Academy, I'm gonna finish watching season 3 and 4 because I watched only season 1 and 2, so I'm gonna have to get by the end of February to watch season 3 and 4. So I do lots of workout, and I'm always open. I apply to some jobs, and I'm waiting for some responses. I need to do some medicals. I have some scars, and I have kind of optometrist. I have to call today and to make some optometrist for my teeth, eyes, and I discussed it before. I'm not gonna go into it today. I have like a scar, skin condition. A scar looks eczema or psoriasis, and I have some itchy. I get itchy sometimes. So it just itches sometimes, like feels like kind of like ants going through the skin, like like tingling ants, like irregular. But it can happen when I work out and when I stretch, and can apply a cream. I started applying applying a cream, applying a cream. But I guess it goes with the application of the cream. So thank you, doctors, and working out, training, exercising is my favorite medication. I always love to exercise and go take some sun, and I'm always joyous when I see people, dancing and working out, training, and I give my main message is with consent and hygiene. With consent and hygiene, hug like you never hugged before. Don't start hugging random people in the streets. That's not what I said. Don't start hugging random people in the streets, because that's not legal, and you gotta consent is important. Hug like you never hugged before. That's the main message. The most important message to my brothers and sisters in Quebec, Canada, North America, and the world. Just hug like you never hugged before. Like it was your last day, if you have an opportunity, just HUG. That's what it is. Just hug like you never hugged before. And we need to get that. Freedom is something new. So if we are to be free, freedom has to be ensured here. Because of course there's many dimensions: financial, psychological, physical, and sexual. Sexual is also part of a thing which we have. And uh, sometimes it's certain things which have to be not repressed but channel. I'm being androgynous pansexual, being androgynous pansexual, being part of the LGBTQ community. I'm gonna being if I when I hope I'm gonna get a yes for marriage and get an engagement, and then build a house and build the forgotten goddess temple, build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. But hope I get a yes. But I wouldn't mind my my wife having sex with or relations, making lov, and with other men or women. Of course, with other men or women, whatever the case may be. I guess general cuckold. That's not a problem. Rock and roll, rainbow dragon, but it's something which is part of us. So if you're gonna defend, if you're gonna put a uniform, you have to defend the cuckolds as well. You gotta have to put on a uniform to defend the cuckolds as well, to fight for the freedom of the cuckolds as well. So anyways, back to the Trump. I say that you gotta invite the proper way as Canadians and Quebec or Canadian North American. Make us some parade across the 50 states and get some cheerleading and get some dancing and get some football, gridiron, and some hockey and some chanting, some singing. I got some ideas. I got some ideas because I was born in the USA 3 times, post 77.6 in past lives incarnations, and once as a woman, twice as a man. So I know a little bit of that marching band in the good old USA, in Tennessee, in Florida, in California, in Arkansas, and of course North Carolina, South Carolina, South Dakota, North Dakota, Maine, Vermont, New Jersey, New York, all the way to New Hampshire, going all the way to Michigan, passing by Seattle, going by California, going by New Mexico, going by Texas, by Mississippi, by Alabama, going all the way to Tennessee, coming back down, of course, to Florida, going back up again to Ohio. I'm going to say the whole 50 states, their capitals also, the mottos, they're mostly in Latin, just like Canada is in Latin. Admire, mask, admire, admire, mask, admire. And of course, the motto of Montreal. Montreal, my city metropolis, 2.5 million people in metropolis, surrounded by a big river, Hawk Island. Hawk Island, Montreal is, of course, a big island. And the motto of Montreal is Concordia Salus. The motto of Montreal is Concordia Salus. The motto of Montreal is Concordia Salus. It's Latin also. Harmony through well-being, kind of harmony through well-being. And it's a great motto. Harmony through well-being, as many other states, of course, have that Latin, and of course, on the U.S. dollar and the Constitution is that Latin. But we got to spit that Latin, rock and roll, English, rock and roll for the North American Union. My brothers and sisters, Canadians, Quebecers, the King is absent. I gotta say that. Brothers and sisters, Quebecers, Canadians, the King is absent. My brothers and sisters, the King is absent. It's time for the North American Union. It's time for the Canadian Republic. It's time for the Republic. It's time for the Republic in the 21st century, because the King is absent. We got to get the common currency, North American Union. And I'm going to now discuss the DRT theory before I go into French. I got to discuss the DRT theory. Just add some coffee. I'm going to discuss the DRT theory. Just going to put some coffee. Some more. Got to make sure that I use the proper way to... because I don't want to dirty this, because it's not mine. And I got to appreciate it, you know. So we're going to discuss the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE. The DRT, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the DRT, D for debt, R refusion, T for theory, the debt refusion theory, which has to be discussed and integrated and of course implemented, and that's all we have to do, you know. We have to discuss the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. So that is something which I got to do myself. And we have to implement this. So I'm going to discuss now. Forget those more peculiar, non-normative, selective aspects of myself, having neurodivergence, having Asperger's, but the paradox of me being cursed with Asperger's, that I'm able to put on the table the blessing of the DRT, the debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, is also something which has to be understood properly, because of course it does come from having Asperger's in many ways. But my DRT theory has to be implemented. And of course, why do I make that pronouncement? That is my theory, or something very similar to my debt refusion theory, which has to be implemented across Canada ASAP, because it's an emergency. It is due to the fact that we now pay 46.5 billion we paid in the fiscal year 2024 of interest, only the interest on the public debt. So that is something which you got to check with the Bank of Canada. The numbers I published below, you can see on my Facebook page, and I did several videos and many videos relating to this. So the fact that, of course, the interest on the public debt has more than doubled since 2020, 2021, when the public debt was 20.3 billion. A billion has 9 zeros. That was the interest, only the interest on the public debt. So not the principal on the public debt of Canada, but the interest. In 2020, 2021 was 20.3 billion. A billion has 9 zeros. So that's 20,300 million. So keep in mind that that has doubled in 3 years. Yes, due to COVID, the implementation of several programs and protocols due to the COVID implementation of the COVID health crisis. The government had to implement, of course, programs for the population to be salvaged for the economic crisis, which stemmed from the health crisis and so on, of course. And that's mostly the case, where we now paid more than double in 3 years. But make an interjection and just think as from an individual perspective, because the same mathematical financial principia apply. The fact that, of course, as an individual, I do not have credit cards. I have a $10,000 debt to the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, so I'm financially stressed. But somebody who has credit cards, if they pay the interest, if the interest doubles, let's say from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333, from 156 to 333, if the interest amount doubles on the debt that one citizen pays, that means that if it's doubled, without the salaries, because how many salaries have doubled? That means that you have to cut and reduce the budget, whatever expenses you have, the expenditures. If you go to the cinema, if you buy some wine, you're going to have to buy less. If you smoke, you're going to have to maybe quit smoking, or whatever the case may be. The expenses, the budget has to be reduced, has to be cut, because the average salaries over the past 5 years, salary increase has been 4.4%. The average salary increase over the past 5 years has been 4.4%. Average salary increase over the past 5 years has been 4.4%. So taking those statisticals, mathematical, financial statistics and details, that of course most salaries have not doubled. But if the principal, if the debt doubles, the interest on the debt doubles, that means automatically that a citizen X, has to reduce the cost of expenses, because there's no other way if you don't double your salary. If the interest only on the debt doubles in 3 years. That's what happened with the public. That's what happened with the public. That's what happened with the public finances of Canada. So don't want to be too alarmist, but on the horizon is a possibility of a black swan event. There's a possibility of a black swan event. There's a possibility of a black swan event on the horizon. I don't want to be too alarmist, but it is a possibility of that occurring, a black swan event across the across Canada for the Canadian public finances, due to the fact that the interest payments, only the interest has doubled, while the GDP, sometimes it increased by 2%, not by double. The GDP of Canada, the economy of Canada, has not doubled. It takes usually decades for a national economy to double, with certain exceptions, such as the discovery of oil in the United Arab Emirates or Kuwait or other small countries, with the discovery and mass FDI, foreign direct investment, and mass FDI, foreign direct investment, and mass FDI, foreign direct investment. But that's very rare cases, and usually more small populated countries. It took China more than 44 years to double its GDP. It took China more than 44 years to double its GDP. It took China more than 44 years to double its GDP. So keep that in mind. So the debt refusion theory or something similar is the only solution. So I'm going to explain it. The DRT, debt refusion theory, contains in it monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is exactly the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The Germans, they destroyed their old national central banks. The Italians, they destroyed their old national central banks. The French and many countries in Europe, they destroyed their national central banks. The European Union now has a common central bank of many nation states called the ECB, the European Central Bank. The ECB, the European Central Bank. The ECB is a supranational central bank of many different countries. In the 90s, many decades ago, more than 25 years ago, they destroyed their old central banks, and they're in all their old currencies. They have a common currency now called the euro. So my DRT theory, the debt or refusion theory, has in it monetary integration theory, which monetary integration theory is exactly the theory which was implemented in the European Union. So my DRT theory has integrated in it that theory. So that's the motive why I say that where we are now, it's a paradox. Myself financially stressed, and having survived COVID and so many things, being depressed, suicidal, that due to the fact that one of my special interests is geopolitics. When you study geopolitics, you have to know a little bit about public finances. And to the curse of Asperger's, I put on the table the blessing of the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, which has to be implemented. It's an emergency. My brothers and sisters, Canada, coast to coast. The king is absent. So I'm going to explain it as simple as I can, because due to the neurological divergent condition known as HFA or Asperger's, there's a tendency to utilize too much academic, sophisticated, verbose, intellectual language, which can obfuscate this more simplistic terms to be more understood better, or simpler terms. There's that characteristic of Asperger's, to use too much intellectual academic language. So I always have to be aware of that. But simple, we're going to take all the public and the private debt together, including my public debt as a citizen. I got $10,000 in debt. So we're going to take all the debt coast to coast, ocean to ocean. My debt, your debt, my $10,000, yours. We're going to go coast to coast, ocean to ocean. All my debt, your debt, our debt, $10,000. I have all the debt, public and private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. My debt, your debt, all the public and the private debt. We're going to take it all, and we're going to convert it to the US dollars. We're going to convert it to the US dollars, first and foremost Canada, but preferably implemented simultaneously at the same time, joined like the establishment of the NHL, which is now really national, is really binational. National Hockey League, it's Canada, US, the newly PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, of which my first expense when I have some money is going to be Victoire, the Professional Women's Hockey League, which rock and roll, and I love Victoire Montreal, they still top number one, I guess, in the new six, and the NBA is really also binational, so preferably Canada, US. Joining can be expanded in North America throughout the other countries of North America, but Canada, US first. So we're going to take all the public-private debt, convert it to US dollar, add it with the US, and all that money is going to be the new money in circulation for the creation of a new currency, and it's going to have the value of the US dollar. So all the public-private debt of Canada, including my $10,000 as a private citizen, all of that added together is going to be in the trillions. Now we're going to convert it into US dollar. We're going to issue a new currency and create a new central bank of North America, a new central bank financial institution, and we're going to issue the UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. Based on the value of the US dollar. With that money, we're going to be able to mass finance the rebuilding of the North American infrastructure, the bridges, mass finance citizens' fitness activity, mass finance the rebuilding of the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos of North America, mass finance citizens' tourism, mass finance the building and construction of those 44 tunnels across North America, deep inside the ground, in case and stack them with food and cans, and make them sanitary for able to withstand the North American collective civilization survival of North America in case of a thermonuclear war. So we're going to build those 44 tunnels, rebuild the infrastructure, finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, finance citizens fitness, mass finance the rebuilding of our aqueducts and trains and bridges and trains and public infrastructure, and build, of course, more parks and mass good with that. And we're going to be laying the fine for the dancing goddess Army and the Dragon Army, the public-private partnership complementary covenant and institutions of the Dragon Army, aka the North American Citizen Integrated Defense, Security and Service Force, and with the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League, complementary covenant cooperative institutions of the 21st century for security service and defense only, and kind of rebirth for security service and defense only, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, build more, construct more satellites, and to be able to build, of course, the interceptors in case of ICBM rockets are launched inside of North America. ICBM rockets are launched in North America. So we're going to be able to do lots of good with that money, mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, rebuild the infrastructure, and build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, build the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the Goddess Temple, and House of the Dragon. So it's going to be a lot for the public, and it takes a public-private partnership, and we can implement the DRT. There's no argument that we have reached a critical emergency level with the public finances of Canada. Maybe today a black swan event starting occurring this morning, this afternoon after 3 p.m. And it's possible that today, as I'm speaking, of course, by 3 p.m. or after 3 p.m. or tomorrow in the coming days, in the coming weeks, coming months, there's a black swan event and the public financial collapse of Canada, because we cannot be sustained, right? Paying interest more than double. It's more than double. It's the same principle, mathematical financial principle, just like an individual. The budget has to be reduced. So my debt refusion theory, or something very, very similar, which resembles it, has to be implemented. My brothers and sisters, the king is absent. The king is absent, my brothers and sisters. The king is absent. You know, we got to get that North American Democratic Republic, Canada. It's time for the Republic. I don't know about the 51st state, but Dragon versus Trump, I do know. And of course, I do know that North American integration best coast-to-coast defense, the ports, the airports, best focus on the ports, and the airports best focus on the ports, coast to coast, and the airports. And of course, we want to know, to classify and do the census and know everybody who's coming in by airports, by ship, or by train, and want to monitor, of course, everything that's coming in across the North American collective at our ports and our airports 24/7. And Bill Gates going for the mass public-private partnership, citizen integrated defense, security, and service infrastructure, where citizens can go check for themselves our ports, North American ports, and our what's going on across the highways, and in surveillance, integrated security and surveillance, and see everything that's going on, I guess, in the surveillance capabilities. And no need to spy on me, secret services of China, secret services of Russia. No need no mercenaries. I say there's a new protocol to my brother citizen Bill Blair. Before you're gonna put an armed forces uniform or whatever the case may be for defense, I say a new protocol. We gotta go at least before you are, let's say, to put on the uniform. A new protocol has to be implemented to go chase some diapers in the daycares. Go chase some diapers in the daycares. Go change some diapers in the daycares, because that's what we're defending first and foremost: the youth, the children, and the youth, and of course the senior citizens who helped build this North American collective, the highways, the privilege, all this privilege of North American civilization, including my Aspie, financially stressed rainbow dragon, artist, athlete, philosopher, mystic, and geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, who has gotten the check from the donation to be able to pay my rent, pay my electricity bill, and got some food. So rock and roll with that. And it's from the daycares to the CHSLDs where I worked, and of course I worked with the senior citizens a few weeks, and it was quite an experience. And I got a salute and LOV for our senior citizens as well. So from the children in the daycares to the senior citizens, you know. So security service and defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, blah 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 blah. Encourage you all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, train, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And we're gonna get for some rock and roll in English, and then we're gonna switch to that French, because we gotta put some French. My brothers and sisters in the USA and everybody, make an effort. Just like gotta make an effort for that French, you know. We gotta make an effort for that French, you know. As General Rainbow Dragon, I gotta say to my brothers and sisters, every day you gotta go drill some push-ups. Left, right, let's go. Salutations, give me some push-ups, Rainbow Dragon, push-ups and hugs. How do we channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs? Push-ups and hugs, with push-ups and hugs. Let's go. Because if I give an order, they're not able to hug or wash some feet. They are not able to open fire for the defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, in case of an invasion by foreign armies across the North America to come us mess with NORAD, U.S.-Canada Alliance. North Americans unite, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. You gotta be able to follow in order to get washing some feet. If you're not able to follow that order of washing some feet, how are you gonna be able to get that defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean? I say to open fire, coast to coast, open fire, coast to coast, open fire, coast to coast, for any invasion of the ships, coast to coast, ocean to ocean defense. Let's get that rock and roll. Invite us properly. Dragon versus Trump, President Trump. Invite us properly, properly, with some parades, with some singing, with some good persuasion. Because it's not all about the money. Cannot be bought. You gotta build. Money's to buy, sell, blah, blah. Let's go for that rock and roll. For my fellow North Americans, Quebecers, Canadians, and Canada, let's go. Canada, from Canada. You know we got some loving. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. I got Canada. Tatted up. For my brothers, got a maple leaf, I gotta sing it. Gotta swing it for the butchers, gotta sing it for the truckers, for the roads on coast to coast. We got 44 million, I don't mind joining. With my brothers and sisters down in the USA. Got it from Canada, Quebec, to Alberta, that's Saskatchewan, going down by Nova Scotia. Up to east and west and roundabout, up that Yukon roundabout, up that Yukon roundabout, that golden by the sun. We got water by the plenty, we got scarlet. And we got what we got. We got skyscrapers, we got butchers, we got bakers, we got some good rock and roll and loving. We got some loving for the south, because we are north and roundabout. For the south, because we are north and you are south. We are north and you are south. You are south of us, we are north of you. My brothers in the USA, those 50 states, gotta get at Canada, we say, for the true north, strong and free. Gotta add some love in me. For the true north, strong and free, it ain't enough, you see. Gotta add some love in me. True north, strong and free. It ain't enough, you gotta add some love and see. It ain't enough, you gotta add some love and be. Just like home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave. Gotta add some love, gotta get some charity redemption, It ain't all about the money. Wall Street got firefighters plenty for the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the doctors. Gotta give some LOV to the firefighters. Somebody making love and dancing, somebody kissing, then that hugging. I ain't perfect, got far from it. Got those 50 states, the Canada, gotta get that North America. For the Union, gotta be for the President Democratic, that Republican Democrat. That the centrist, that's the left in the rainbow, that's the black and white and rainbow, that's us singing for a go. Freestyle that you know, freestyle rainbow dragon rock and roll. I'm an Aspie, gotta kiss it, gotta KIS it, gotta KIS and hug it, gotta put those gloves and fight it. Sometimes gotta get that coast to coast an issue. For the construction workers on steel toes, in the cranes they know they go. To build those cranes, you know we go. Farmers and the butchers and the plumbers, the electricians, those flipping some burgers, making some sandwich, that's you know they gotta sing it. For the sing it. For the coffee, that's way with it. Rainbow Dragon gotta kiss it. Swing those hips like you mean it. like you mean it, all the way from 50 states. I gotta cross that coast to coast. You know that the ocean lakes. Got the Atlantic, got the Pacific, got the Atlantic, got the Pacific. I know some cheerleaders gotta get some cheerleading. For the cheerleading, gotta get it. For the Canada, let's go. Invite us properly that you know. Invite us properly so that you know. Invite us properly so that you know. Mr. Trump versus Dragon, that's the Dragon rock and roll. French now, cause we la belle province. Bienvenue, votre dragon arc-en-ciel vous encourage dans l'entraînement physique, puis je commence avec la gratitude, la gratitude, la gratitude, gratitude. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, je vous invite à faire l'entraînement physique pour le mois de février. Je commence, puis je fais la méditation aujourd'hui. Encore une fois, je commence avec la gratitude, même si je vis un stress financier, mais je suis en dette de 10 000, j'ai la gratitude. Puis la gratitude, c'est bon pour la santé mentale, car la civilisation est un privilège. J'ai payé mon loyer pour le mois de février, j'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café puis du thé, puis une sandwich, puis je salue les camionneurs, les travailleurs publics, ceux qui vont faire le déneigement. Il y a la tempête de neige qui s'en vient, puis à Montréal, la métropole est dans la traverse, la belle province. Il y a bien des camionneurs qui vont faire de l'appel, ça pelleter de la neige. Québécois, Québécoises, on danse même dans la neige, n'est-ce pas nous autres, dans la belle province, les mains dans les airs, les pieds bien dans la neige, bien profond que ça danse. Et le soleil, mais il fait fret. Il y a du soleil, le soleil, mon papa, mais il fait fret. Il y a le soleil, ben il fait fret. Il y a le soleil, mais c'est mon papa. Il y a le soleil, mais il fait fret, mais c'est mon papa. Oui, les tapes, ça met de les airs. Dans les airs des aigles, qu'on a des arcs-en-ciel, votre dragon qui vous chante. Monsieur, madame, de quoi, monsieur, madame, 50-50, je vous dérange? Ah oui, à l'entraînement physique. Sinon, je vous chatouille, ben je vous le demande. Si vous se dérange, juste me le dire. Puis j'arrête, je me ferme la gueule. J'arrête, je me ferme la gueule. J'arrête, je me ferme la gueule. Pour en faire avec mon oncle Legault, mais je suis pas toujours je suis pas un caquiste, je ne suis pas un caquiste. Mais je dois dire que quand même, mon oncle Legault, tu sais, François Legault, il y a quand même, je l'appelle mon oncle parce que je le considère comme une famille, tu sais, une grosse famille, les Québécois et Québécoises, puis les Canadiens, puis les Nord-Américains, puis tous ceux, bien sûr, qui viennent nous rejoindre le plus possible qu'on puisse le faire aussi, comme je dis toujours, mais nous autres aussi, on a un petit devoir aussi de le faire, tu sais, pour le français, pour les invités, tu sais, on doit faire un effort aussi, si on veut la continuité de la culture du français en Amérique du Nord, ou qu'est-ce que j'appelle dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, comme je le fais moi-même, mais ça prend un effort aussi de l'individu, tu sais. Parce que moi, si je le fais pas, puis il y a une manière de fois de le faire, puis quand je dis souvent, quand il y a des gens qui font un effort pour me répondre en français, mais je dis merci d'avoir fait un effort, puis moi, ça me dérange pas en anglais puis en français, là, vous juste me le demander, mais moi, c'est quand même, j'ai cette différence parce que je suis neurodivergent, fait que j'ai l'Asperger's, fait que des fois, je peux offenser ou être trop direct, ou j'ai de l'air un peu, tu sais, trop direct, mais je sais pas par offenser, c'est juste que notre cerveau, il est différent, fait qu'on a de la misère, tu sais, les Asperger's dans certains conditions de la société, dans certaines normes. Tu sais, admettons, je serais, tu sais, comme mettons avec mon oncle François Legault, je serais en discussion, peut-être je m'approcherais tellement proche de son visage qu'il serait pas confortable parce que ces caractéristiques-là, comme l'espace personnel, tout ça, on a tendance à ne pas les connaître, ne pas savoir, puis on a de la misère, puis toujours en tant qu'autiste, hautement fonctionnel, en tant qu'Asperger, je dois toujours bâtir des ponts. C'est comme bâtir des ponts, puis des fois c'est difficile parce que ces choses-là sont plus difficiles, puis moi-même je suis médiocre comme ci, comme ça dans certaines choses, mais pas quand ça vient à mes intérêts spéciaux, on appelle les aspis, on a des intérêts spéciaux, sont aussi connus comme les intérêts obsessifs. Puis mes intérêts obsessifs, c'est la trinité de la géopolitique 24/24, l'entraînement physique, la danse est mon sport préféré, puis l'entraînement physique, c'est la danse. Puis je vais souvent à la marche à ma deuxième maison, le Mont-Royal sur le Belvedere Continental, puis le rock'n'roll. Puis c'est ça, j'en fais au quotidien, des fois avec intensité, des fois je commence des trans de rock'n'roll, puis je peux en faire, en composer des chansons pendant des heures. Pendant des heures, là, je peux passer un beau 4 heures, mettons, avec une pause café, pause toilette, là, si j'ai besoin d'aller aux toilettes, mais je peux quand même faire du rock'n'roll, parce que c'est mon intérêt obsessif, c'est plus négatif de dire obsessif, parce que pour les neurodivergents, les neurotypiques, ils voient ça comme une obsession, comme quelque chose de hey, il est tellement dedans, il est tellement intense quand il fait ça, c'est quelque chose de plus bizarre, c'est plus comme une obsession. Mais pour nous, les Asperger's, les autistes vraiment fonctionnels, c'est des intérêts spéciaux. Fait que c'est pas vraiment négatif. Il faut les encourager dans les Asperger's, l'autisme, dans ces domaines-là, parce qu'ils peuvent être très bons dans ces choses-là. Comme moi, la géopolitique, c'est mon royaume, mon domaine. Puis même que je dis toujours, je répète, que j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment depuis 2019. 2019 en octobre, en novembre, en faisant des analyses profondes en géopolitique. J'ai prévu, puis j'ai la preuve en vidéo en ligne, j'ai prévu la situation actuelle, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale, une troisième guerre mondiale basée sur des, quand même en détail, là, sur plusieurs détails de la géopolitique, de l'analyse que j'en fais au quotidien, j'analyse la géopolitique. Puis aujourd'hui, vraiment aujourd'hui de la pleine lune, parce que je suis mystique aussi, je célèbre la déesse, le soleil, la lune, les astres, la civilisation, l'Hydro-Québec aussi, hein. Je l'ai dit à Québec aussi parce que je ne pourrais pas faire sans les travailleurs du passé. Je ne pourrais pas faire cette vidéo-là. Fait que les travailleurs du passé, du présent et du futur, les fermiers aussi de la belle province, les travailleurs en construction, les infirmières, les boulangers, les électriciens, les plombiers, les travailleurs publics qui vont faire le déneigement parce que la tempête s'en vient. Puis toutes ces choses-là, je célèbre. Le chef de cuisine, je viens juste de manger un sandwich. Puis comme aujourd'hui, ça serait une méditation vraiment sur ce que mon oncle Legault a dit. Depuis ce matin, il a dit qu'il faut qu'on il ne faut pas qu'on se bat entre nous autres. Il faut s'unir le plus possible. Le Québec, le Canada, on est dans une confédération, mais comme je dis souvent, mais le roi est absent, le roi est absent, le roi est absent. C'est le temps pour la République. C'est le temps pour la République. Puis je suis pour l'Union de l'Amérique du Nord, mais comme je disais tantôt en anglais, il y a 15% de la population du Canada qui soutient l'idée du 51e État. Du 51e État. Moi, je ne sais pas le 51e État, mais je suis parallèlement à l'intégration pour avoir une monnaie commune, comme qu'ils ont fait en Europe. Je suis pour l'intégration pour la sécurité, la défense puis le service parce que mes initiatives sont seulement pour la sécurité, la défense puis le service. Puis bien sûr, je suis pour la sécurité puis le service puis la défense. Puis bien sûr, pour la sécurité puis le service puis la défense. Puis de côte à côte, d'océan à océan. Puis bien sûr, je suis pour avoir un passeport commun aussi parce que la frontière, c'est investir dans la frontière, on n'a pas vraiment besoin que ce qu'on a besoin du point de vue géopolitique, c'est la défense, la sécurité des ports. Portuaire, des ports, puis des aéroports. Fait il faut, du point de vue d'investir dans la frontière, c'est pas vraiment nécessaire. Je ne soutiens pas Trump, bien sûr. Je ne soutiens pas Trump pas en tout. Hein. Depuis 2018, je le fais appel qu'un combat dans un combat de boxe, ça va faire 7 ans bientôt. Ça va faire 7 ans bientôt depuis 2018. Puis je dois te dire un petit merci à mon ami anonyme qui m'avait acheté, fait en cadeau, ces belles gants rouges. Ça fait, je les ai mis en pratique. Puis je vais mettre en pratique de la pleine lune à la pleine lune, bien comme il le faut. Là, parce que, comme mon oncle Legault, il a dit, puis il faut que je médite profondément en tant qu'analyste théoricien en géopolitique, quelque chose de sage, d'une sagesse. Il a dit, moi, je ne boycotte pas. C'est pas le temps de me boycotter parce que les tarifs ne sont pas présents. Là. Il n'y a pas de tarif en ce moment. Il n'y a pas de tarif de 25%, mais c'est quand même quelque chose qui est grave parce qu'on exporte 4 $ sur 5 d'exportation, s'en va aux États-Unis. Fait qu'il faut voir ça du collectif nord-américain. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand collectif de l'Amérique du Nord en tant que philosophe. On constitue moi-même le grand collectif en tant qu'individu. Je suis un individu qui fait partie d'un collectif du Québec, en tant que Québécois canadien, je dois faire un effort moi-même pour le français. Parce qu'il y a une affaire, une manière de le faire aussi à les autres. Il faut qu'on, pour avoir l'amour aussi pour le français, pour la culture du Québec, comme moi-même j'en compose des chansons en français à chaque jour, là, du coucher du soleil ou le lever du soleil, le soleil se lève, puis le soleil se couche, puis même dans mon sommeil, des fois, je me réveille, puis je dis, oh, c'était une méchante chanson, là, et Louis V qui me tombe dessus du ciel, Louis V, puis il dit, ah ouais, chante-moi quelque chose, chante-moi quelque chose, chante-moi quelque chose. Je dis, bien, Louis V, puis dans une autre vie, moi, je suis mystique, j'y crois à des réincarnations, des fois, j'étais une femme, par exemple, j'étais québécoise, j'ai aidé les coureurs de bois, puis je faisais du lavage, je faisais du nettoyage, puis je faisais de la cuisine, puis dans une autre vie, j'ai rencontré Louis V. Fait que ce côté mystique un peu, ça rajoute à moi-même, puis j'ai été né aux États-Unis après 1776 aussi, une fois femme aussi, 2 fois homme, j'ai servi dans l'armée des États-Unis, dans 2 guerres, dans la même armée des États-Unis, dans 2 guerres différentes, 156 ans à part, 156 ans à part, là, mais c'est comme mon oncle Legault, que je vais méditer aujourd'hui sur ses paroles, il a dit, ben, c'est mieux qu'on, là, je veux pas mettre des paroles dans la bouche des gens, j'aime pas ça, parce que des fois, on rend pas justice, vraiment, on rend pas justice. Mais en ne pas rendant justice, je dois dire, je dois réentendre les mots, les paroles que j'ai entendues ce matin vers 7h18, non pas 7h18, 9h30. À 7h18, je faisais mes étirements solaires à 7h18. Après ça, vers 9h, même proche de 10h, que j'ai entendu à la radio que les paroles de François Legault, je pense d'un matin ou d'hier, qui disait que c'est mieux si on se concentre pour l'union, l'intégration avec les États-Unis le plus possible, dont je suis pour ça. Puis bien sûr, pour avoir pour la défense contre la Russie puis la Chine. Ou qu'on se batte, qui a dit, je pense qu'il a dit fight en anglais, là, je dois vérifier, faites un vérificateur, fight, se battre. Là. Puis mon oncle Legault, je ne suis pas caquiste, hein, je ne suis pas caquiste, je suis pas membre d'aucun parti politique, je suis centriste. Mon centrisme est pro-révolutionnaire, centriste, basé sur une démocratie républicaine, où je suis un républicain démocrate, un centriste qui est basé sur le partenariat public-privé, qui est basé sur beaucoup de partenariats public-privé, je pense, pour le 21e siècle. Beaucoup de partenariats public-privé, ça en prend parce que ça en prend des deux, tu sais. Puis c'est pour ça, ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, que j'en discute, puis j'en mets ça à table, c'est important qu'on commence à faire l'implémentation parce que c'est urgent. La théorie de la refusion de la dette pour la création d'une nouvelle monnaie dans le collectif nord-américain, parallèlement, qu'est-ce que les Européens ont fait. Fait que de retour, mon oncle Legault, tu sais, des fois, une sagesse, des fois, je ne suis pas tout à fait en accord avec mon oncle Legault, mais il y a quand même une certaine sagesse que je dois faire la complémentaire à moi-même. Mon oncle, il n'est pas autiste, il n'y a pas l'Asperger's, je dois bâtir quand même un pont, puis je lui expliquerai, mettons, si je le rencontre, je serais peut-être proche de son visage de même, il ferait comment, puis je dis, oh, je m'excuse, puis après je me rends compte, mais c'est à cause de l'Asperger's que ces choses-là, sociales, sont plus difficiles. Pour les Asperger's, on a de la misère, mais dans d'autres choses, on est bon, comme la géopolitique. Je peux vous en faire des révisions sur n'importe quel sujet de l'international, l'universel, global, du monde, de la géopolitique. Puis là, qu'est-ce qui nous concerne le plus en tant que Québécois, Canadiens, Québécois, puis Nord-Américains? Parce qu'on est Nord-Américains, on constitue une civilisation, un complexe de civilisation qui est émergent, puis il n'est pas divorcé de l'Occident, de la civilisation occidentale. On n'est pas divorcé de la civilisation occidentale, mais on a quand même des distinctions. Ces distinctions-là, ils font qu'on est des Nord-Américains dans un sens culturel, social, économique, financier, puis bien sûr pour un destin commun. Parce qu'on est nouveaux quand même, les Québécois, on est nouveaux, les Canadiens, puis tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre, qu'on les accueille, puis on fait famille avec eux, qui viennent quand même le plus possible qu'on puisse le faire. Puis on doit faire aussi un effort aussi. L'individu, moi-même, un individu avec le collectif, ma sécurité, à moi-même, puis ma liberté à moi-même, parce que la liberté, c'est nouveau, puis la sécurité, puis après ça, on rajoute la prospérité, puis un peu de joie. Un peu de joie aussi, un peu de joie de bonheur, de joie de vivre, parce que je sais quand même que, moi, en tant que Québécois, je dis que la majorité, nous, au Québec, on a quand même, c'est comme on est pas mal une race de comédiens, quand même, on est quand même de la comédie, mais on semble bon vivre, quand même, si je peux faire un résumé de notre culture, c'est pas mal de la comédie, tu sais. Notre culture, c'est pas mal de la comédie, fait que c'est possible que même les Américains, comme un peu un choc culturel parce que c'est sûr que je ne soutiens pas Trump. J'aurais mis des ordres d'exécutif, bien sûr, pour taxer 10%, les billionnaires Wall Street 10%, pour rebâtir l'infrastructure de l'Amérique du Nord, puis pour augmenter le salaire fédéral. Pour augmenter le salaire fédéral, là. J'aurais mis ces choses-là. Mais bien sûr, comme je dis à mon... je retourne aux paroles de François Legault, mon oncle, je l'appelle mon oncle parce que c'est comme une famille, là, mais que je vous considère, puis je vous défendrai, si il y aurait une invasion, j'irais en courant mettre un uniforme, j'entendrai à la radio, il y a une invasion, j'irais en courant, je prendrai des roches pour vous défendre, mais juste pour la défense, pour ça, mes protocoles sont pour la défense, la sécurité et le service de côte à côte, d'océan à océan, juste pour la défense, Puis comme je dis, je défendrai aux États-Unis aussi s'il y aurait une invasion, parce qu'on est un collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, puis 80% de nos exportations s'en vont aux États-Unis. On doit travailler le plus possible, s'intégrer le plus possible. Puis comme je dis, bien sûr, je ne sais pas, le 51e État, il y a 15% qui soutiennent. 15%, les statistiques, c'est 15 sur 100. Donc, un et demi, là, on ne peut pas vraiment dire statistique, 1,5, mais 15%, c'est une minorité, mais je pensais que ça allait être moins, mais je pensais que ça allait être comme 7%, 7-8%, mais 15%, ou peut-être plus que 15%, j'aimerais ça faire un recensement, un vote, voir combien exactement de Québécois, juste au Québec, qui soutiennent l'idée d'un 50e État. Quand même, 1 sur 5, 1 sur 10, si c'est 15 ou plus pour cent, 20%, 25%, moi, je ne sais pas un 50e État, mais ça serait bien sûr... Il faut avoir la justice sociale, puis les programmes, il faut avoir, j'aurais mis des ordres exécutifs aussi, bien sûr, pour financer la santé publique. Il aux États-Unis en tant que président pour financer la santé publique, là, pour financer la santé publique. Ça prend un partenariat public-privé, tu sais. Ça prend un partenariat public-privé. C'est toujours l'individu puis le collectif. C'est pour ça, tu sais, ça prend un partenariat public-privé. Ça prend des services publics. Et comme je dis maintenant, parce que la crise financière des finances publiques canadiennes, c'est rendu qu'on paye tellement d'intérêts. Ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, mais c'est quand même la seule solution en ce moment que moi j'envisage, que moi je pense qu'on devrait faire l'implémentation le plus tôt possible. Bon, de retour à François Legault, mon oncle, qu'est-ce qu'il a dit? C'est qu'il faut qu'on se bat contre la Russie puis la Chine, contre la Russie puis la Chine, parce que les autres ils ont fait une alliance solide en géopolitique ces dernières années, comme j'ai discuté dans bien des vidéos, puis c'est sûr que je ne peux pas discuter ma la théorie de défense mobile, la théorie de défense mobile totale, parce que c'est une question de sécurité, puis mais j'ai une théorie que je fais appel à l'implémentation pour la défense, la sécurité puis le service, puis complémentaire à ce que François Legault, il a une certaine sagesse, même si sur certains points, je ne vois pas. Mais en nouvelle Donald Trump, c'est rare, c'est tellement politique, puis des choses que j'oppose. Tu sais, j'aurais voté Kamala Harris, j'aurais voté Joe Biden, c'est sûr, puis c'est sûr que je fais appel à Donald Trump pour me combattre. C'est là vraiment que je suis entré dans la politique depuis 2018, puis je veux construire sur la frontière, mais pas juste moi-même, avec votre aide, bien sûr, c'est les travailleurs en construction qui vont faire bien du rock'n'roll, que je leur offre des lavages de pieds, puis des massages, puis bien du rock'n'roll, des chatouilles avec ça, mais pour en construire, qu'est-ce que je veux sur la frontière canadienne-états-unienne, par un partenariat public-privé, c'est bâtir le Colisée du peuple nord-américain impérial. Bâtir le Colisée du peuple nord-américain impérial. Bâtir le Colisée du peuple nord-américain impérial. Parallèlement, je veux bâtir un temple de la déesse oubliée, ou le temple de la déesse aux millions de noms, le temple de la déesse comme Dieu déesse. C'est la pleine lune. Wouhou! Le Dieu déesse, parce qu'on a des émotions, on a aussi de l'irrationnel, ça joue avec la logique. On ne peut pas se baser sur les mathématiques simplement. On ne peut pas se baser sur la mathématique simplement. On doit se baser aussi sur l'irrationnel, les émotions. On ne peut pas se baser juste sur se battre. On peut se baser aussi. Il faut avoir la bonté, la compassion, l'amour aussi, l'amour. L'amour, c'est important. T'sais. Aussi, on ne peut pas juste se battre, puis c'est pas tout de l'argent. L'argent qui compte, l'argent, ça sert à un but pour faire des choses, pour construire. Puis, comme je dis tantôt, mais je dis en anglais au Trump, je dis, s'il veut nous inviter, les Québécois, là, pour rejoindre qu'on devient faire partie de l'Union des États-Unis comme État, il faut nous le faire d'une bonne manière, ne pas nous menacer par des tarifs. Là. Faites-nous une parade, invitez-nous qu'on visite les 50 États, donnez-nous un motel, un hôtel, amenez donc des autobus, ah ouais, finançons le Lyon des autobus qu'on en construise au Québec, qu'on puisse le financer, puis qu'on puisse avoir des hôtels, des motels pour que les Québécois aient une semaine pour aller voyager à travers les 50 États ou un couple d'États, qui aillent jusqu'en Floride, qui aillent de la Floride à la Californie, pour qu'il y ait bien des Québécois, là, on les 9 millions plus, là. Quand même, puis plus avec les Canadiens 40 millions, les Québécois et les Canadiens qui nous invitent, puis qu'on fasse en visite, qui nous montrent les États-Unis, si on veut se rejoindre, qui nous demandent une parade, qui nous chantent quelque chose de beau puis d'amour, de rock'n'roll, ils veulent nous faire une bonne invitation de même, pas par le 25% de tarif, là. Ça avait commencé à sacrer des cibois que les saints esprits vont commencer à descendre puis me dire d'arrêter de moins chanter et de sacrer de même, mais c'est quand même quelque chose qu'on doit nous le dire, de nous inviter bien comme il le faut, là, bien comme il faut. Là. Bien comme il faut, invite-nous donc comme il faut. Ah. Ben, c'est une manière aussi de nous inviter pour qu'on ait cette discussion-là, pas par les menaces de 25% de tarifs, là, les pressions économiques, tu sais. C'est pas de même, là. Faites pas ça de même avec les Québécois, tu sais. On a bien des Québécoises et des Québécoises fortes aussi, là. Comme moi-même, Québécois, Canadiens, puis Nord-Américains aussi des États-Unis, mais c'est une manière de le faire, tu sais. Puis, on est des Nord-Américains. On est des Nord-Américains, anyways, quand même. On est des Nord-Américains, tu sais. C'est comme nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis. On n'a pas vraiment besoin de la frontière. Puis même du point de vue financier, puis pratique, là, en géopolitique, c'est mieux si on se concentre et on finance de côte à côte. Les ports, les aéroports, les ports, les aéroports, les ports, les aéroports. C'est quand même quelque chose d'une stratégie qu'on doit y aller ensemble. Comme mon oncle Legault il a dit sage, d'une manière sage, il faut qu'on se concentre à se battre contre ce qu'ils veulent nous battre. Bien, dans ce cas, qui a nommé la Russie et la Chine, parce que là, on s'est fait des ennemis, mais mes protocoles, mes initiatives, même si je connais les conflits, puis je connais l'histoire, puis bien sûr, j'avais prévu en 2019, j'ai fait une prédiction qu'il y aura une troisième guerre mondiale, une conflagration internationale, parce qu'ils n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs problèmes d'une manière pacifique. Ici, au Québec, les Québécois, là, dont moi je fais partie, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique. Ça a pris du temps, ça a pris bien des souffrances. Des Québécois et Québécoises, bien des luttes, bien des souffrances, mais c'est quand même quelque chose qu'on doit faire un effort aussi, là, si on veut valoriser le français, la culture du Québec. Il faut faire un effort aussi, puis il y a une manière aussi, avec nos frères et sœurs anglophones, puis tout ça. Moi, je suis les deux, hein, je suis Canadien, Québécois, Nord-Américain, Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain. Je peux être citoyen du monde, mais fondamentalement, c'est l'île de Montréal. Ici que j'ai survécu la COVID, je célèbre 5 ans. En 2020, février-mars, j'ai commencé à me sentir malade. 5 ans. Wow, 5 ans déjà. 5! En 2020, février-mars, je commençais à me sentir malade. Je tombais malade au début de février jusqu'au début de mars. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence. Puis je dis souvent, mais je suis mort ici. Je suis en train de renaître ici. Puis bien sûr, vu le 44 mois, j'ai accepté mon Asperger's parce que ça fait bien des années qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué avec l'Asperger's, mais j'ai quand même refusé de l'accepter là, parce que c'était un stigme, mais ça a quand même des bonnes choses, mais dans certaines choses, je suis moins capable. Là. Dans certaines choses, je suis comme ça, médiocre, puis pas bon, mais c'est juste, je vis dans un état d'hypervigilance, mais j'aime pas la violence, je n'aime pas la violence, mais c'est l'agression, tout ça, c'est fait pour la défense, puis comme vous dit, j'ai des protocoles, des initiatives pour la réhabilitation de nos frères et sœurs aussi qui perdent leur liberté, qu'ils soient mis en prison, puis tout ça, là, c'est mieux que faire des travaux publics, on a tellement de parcs publics, on va aller mettre de la peinture, je serais juge, je dirais, ouais, ok, vous avez fait ça, vous avez livré ce temps, on va aller mettre de la peinture. Il y a tellement de parcs publics, on va aller faire du travail, on va mettre de la peinture sur les parcs, on va embellir les parcs, on va faire du bénévolat. Dans les CHSLD, on va faire des bonnes choses, Ça a été une rédemption, une deuxième chance. Bien du monde, ils méritent une deuxième chance. Bien du monde qui mérite une deuxième chance, là, une rédemption, tu sais. Puis on doit se concentrer sur la défense de côte à côte, les ports, les aéroports. Principalement, fondamentalement, les ports, les aéroports. Ça, c'est mes initiatives, puis c'est mieux. C'est mieux. On n'a pas besoin de la frontière. On n'a pas besoin vraiment de la frontière. C'est de côte à côte. Parce que par la sécurité puis la service, l'Amérique du Nord, on est un collectif de civilisation nouveau émergent qui n'est pas tout à fait divorcé, mais on a des distinctions avec la civilisation occidentale. Mais même je peux être citoyen du monde, mais je suis quand même québécois nord-américain, je leur souhaite de la paix dans le monde, puis de résoudre bien des problèmes, bien des conflits, mais moi, c'est pour la défense, la sécurité puis le service, puis la défense du collectif nord-américain, puis de côte à côte. Puis on est 9 millions de Québécois plus, avec tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre, bien sûr, qu'on les accueille, puis on fasse le mieux possible, de les aimer, puis de faire affaire, puis de faire amour, puis de faire tout ce qu'on continue à faire, de côte à côte avec les 44 millions de Canadiens. Je pense qu'on est rendu à 44 à cause de l'immigration, ça a augmenté dans les derniers 3 ans et demi, mais avec nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis, c'est quand même 340%, puis c'est l'histoire des mois des Noirs avec mes frères et sœurs noirs, les 13,3, 13,4%. Des fois, c'est sûr qu'il y a du racisme en tant qu'individu, des fois c'est subconscient, hein? Des fois c'est subconscient, on ne sait pas, des fois c'est subconscient, t'sais. Fait que je mets sur la table des câlins, des bisous, j'en ai en milliards crédités par la déesse, des bisous, puis faire l'affaire. L'argent, je ne peux pas en faire de don parce que j'ai quand même, je vis une crise financière, mais on continue à faire l'affaire, puis on doit les aimer, puis quand même, c'est 13%, 13,3, 13,4% de la population de l'Amérique du Nord, c'est nos frères et sœurs noirs qui sont noirs, puis mes voisins aussi. J'ai des voisins qui sont noirs, puis d'autres pays qui viennent du Mexique ou quoi que ce soit, puis on fait le mieux possible, de tout faire, de vivre ensemble, puis c'est des temps difficiles, ça a été des temps difficiles ces 3 années et demie depuis que la COVID a commencé, puis ayant survécu la COVID, je célèbre ça, puis je veux bâtir le temple de la déesse, oublié le temple de la déesse au million de noms, avec la pyramide écarlate, c'est rouge, ma couleur préférée, la pyramide de la maison du dragon avec le palais du peuple arc-en-ciel, bien sûr que je veux bâtir, puis avec le Colisée du peuple nord-américain impérial ou le Colisée impérial du peuple nord-américain sur la frontière Canada-États-Unis, sur la frontière du Canada puis des États-Unis. J'aimerais ça voir construire puis aider à construire le Colisée impérial du peuple nord-américain ou le Colisée impérial de l'Amérique du Nord. Le Colisée impérial nord-américain ou du peuple nord-américain. Puis maintenant, je vais discuter bien vite de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Puis encore une fois, je vais méditer sur ce que mon oncle François Legault avait dit, plus en profondeur. Puis je dois dire que oui, 100%, avec Legault, avec mon oncle Legault, sur pas mal ses paroles depuis, je pense, hier soir ou ce matin, que c'est pas le temps vraiment de boycotter parce que les tarifs sont pas encore là. On a eu un délai, on a fait certaines choses, mais c'est pas la manière de le faire. Moi-même, si j'ai du jus de Floride, je vais boire. Mais ça, je l'ai acheté avant, hein, je l'ai acheté avant. Puis, tu sais, on doit éviter ça. On doit s'intégrer le plus possible, faire une monnaie d'échange commune. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, que je vous vais discuter maintenant, c'est la théorie qui peut nous sauver des finances. La crise des finances publiques, c'est un paradoxe quand même que je vous la présente, mais la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui contient la théorie d'intégration financière, la théorie d'intégration monétaire, qui c'est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation il y a plus que 25 ans. En Europe, bien sûr, les Allemands, les Italiens, les Français ont détruit leur banque centrale nationale dans les années 80. Puis là, ils ont aussi annulé leur ancienne monnaie. Ils ont une banque centrale commune, plusieurs nations. Ils ont la banque centrale de l'Europe, ils ont l'euro qu'ils ont mis en circulation. Donc, il faut tout comprendre ça, que dans ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est intégrer cette théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie financière, que les Européens ont fait l'implémentation dans les années 90. Donc, la TRD, pourquoi je m'exprime, puis je dis bien sûr que c'est la seule solution, mais car est dû au fait, bien sûr, qu'en ce moment, on est rendu à payer 46, l'année passée, 46,5 milliards juste d'intérêt sur la dette publique. Fait que c'est possible qu'il y ait un effondrement, même ça commence d'un effondrement des finances publiques canadiennes, qu'on appelle en anglais un événement Black Swan. C'est bien sûr un scénario quand même possible. C'est désastreux, c'est alarmiste un peu, mais c'est quand même possible sur l'horizon. Même si ça commence à 3 heures, on est le 12 février, c'est possible que ça commence aujourd'hui de la pleine lune, ou demain, ou après-demain, ou lundi prochain, dans les semaines, mois à venir, c'est possible. On a payé sur l'intérêt seulement sur la dette publique 46,5 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est 1000 millions. Là. 1 milliard, c'est 9 zéros. Fait que faites le calcul du point de vue qu'en 2020-2021, l'intérêt, le montant de l'intérêt qu'on payait, c'était 20,3 milliards. Fait que si vous faites le calcul, 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. Donc 46,5, c'est plus que le double. C'est plus que le double. Ça a plus que doublé dans le sens. Fait que faites ce calcul mental. 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. C'est rendu à 46,5 milliards. 46,5 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est 9 zéros. Fait qu'il n'y a pas d'autre solution. Vous pouvez vous ostiner, là. Ostinez-vous tant que vous voudrez, mais quelque chose qui ressemble à ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la solution. Parce que, imaginez d'un point de vue de citoyen privé, en tant que moi-même, je n'ai pas de carte de crédit, j'ai une dette de 10 000 à la Banque Royale, je paye 11 % d'intérêt, mais quelqu'un, mettons un citoyen, vous, quelqu'un d'autre, citoyen, citoyenne, X, Y, Z, mettons que la citoyenne a payé 156 $ d'intérêt en 2020-2021. Puis là, l'année passée, c'est rendu que de 156, c'est rendu à 333. Fait que si ça saute de 156 à 333, de 156 à 333, c'est plus que le double. C'est plus que le double. C'est ça qui est arrivé avec l'intérêt qu'on paye sur la dette publique du Canada. Fait que c'est le même principe financier mathématique. C'est le même principe financier mathématique. Fait que, dans le fond, c'est si les salaires ne doublent, puis l'intérêt double, il faut qu'on coupe dans le budget. C'est ça qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Il faut couper dans le budget. Il n'y a pas d'autre choix que de couper dans le budget. Il n'y a pas d'autre choix que de faire des réductions dans nos dépenses, réduire nos dépenses, aller au cinéma, peut-être acheter moins de vin. Si moi, je ne fume pas la cigarette, mais peut-être arrêter de fumer si vous fumez la cigarette. D'arrêter aller au restaurant, faites des commandes du restaurant, arrêtez de boire plus de bière, plus de vin, quoi que ce soit dans les dépenses, les Netflix, ou réduire la consommation d'Internet, quoi que ce soit, le cellulaire, le téléphone. Moi, au début du mois, je fais toujours mon loyer. Il est payé déjà pour le mois de février, dès le début de février, avec la facture de Hydro-Québec. Go Hydro-Québec, go amour, chante du rock'n'roll. Puis avec l'Hydro-Québec, bien sûr, c'est une autre chose. C'est bien sûr le rock'n'roll, le rock'n'roll, le rock'n'roll. Fait que c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Donc, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la seule et unique solution qu'il faut faire l'implémentation pour la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Ça, c'est prendre de toute la dette publique-privée, bien sûr, pour que ça soit la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, puis faire l'implémentation de la TRD qui contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire, c'est la théorie que les Européens ont fait, c'est que dans ma TRD, ça contient cette théorie. Donc, le principe qu'il faut que vous retenez, c'est que l'intérêt, seulement l'intérêt sur la dette publique a doublé. Puis de faire un parallèle, un scénario similaire qu'en tant que citoyen, si l'intérêt double, qu'on paye, ça veut dire qu'il faut qu'on coupe dans le budget parce qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de salaire. En 5 ans, la moyenne d'augmentation salariale, ça a été 4,4 %. L'augmentation salariale en 5 ans, c'est 4,4 %. 4,4 %, fait que c'est loin d'être double. Le produit intérieur brut, l'économie canadienne n'a pas doublé. Là. Ça prend des fois plus que 44 ans là, que ça double une économie. Ça, en temps des cas spéciaux, là, avec certains pays qui ont découvert qu'ils ont du pétrole, puis il y a eu de l'investissement d'extérieur qui est venu, puis l'économie a doublé, comme le Koweït ou les Émirats arabes unis. Là. Ça, c'est possible des petits pays, mais l'économie canadienne, des fois, ça va dans le négatif. Ça fait que c'est ça qu'il faut retenir. Il faut être conscient de cela. Il faut être très conscient de ça. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution que la TRD. Donc, la TRD, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Je vous l'explique. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, toute la dette publique-privée, toute la dette publique-privée. Puis, incluant mon 10 000, j'ai un 10 000 la dette, de compte à compte. On va faire la conversion de toute cette dette-là dans la devise des États-Unis. Puis, Canada, premièrement, mais de préférence, comme l'établissement de la Ligue de hockey nationale, puis la Ligue de hockey au féminin professionnel, puis la Ligue de basketball national, ensemble, simultanément, ensemble, en même temps, l'implémentation de ma TRD, que ça soit fait Canada, États-Unis, puis ça peut s'étendre à d'autres pays après, ou en même temps, Mexique, ils font partie de l'Amérique du Nord, du collectif nord-américain aussi, le Mexique. Là, mais bon, on discute Canada, premièrement, toute la dette publique-privée, toute cette dette-là, on va convertir dans la devise des États-Unis, on va faire l'addition avec la dette des États-Unis. Tout cet argent-là, ça va être l'argent initial pour la création d'une nouvelle banque. Tout l'argent, on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie basée sur la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Toute la dette publique-privée, ça va être l'argent initial pour la création de cette nouvelle banque centrale commune de l'Amérique du Nord. Banque centrale commune, unie, intégrée. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie qui aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Oui. U point unité, un point échange, du point universel. U point unité, un point échange, du point universel. U point unité, un point échange, du point universel. Oui. L'unité d'échange universel, l'unité d'échange universel, l'unité. Oui, on ne s'obstinera pas. En anglais, c'est pareil. Oui, en anglais, puis en français, ça serait oui. U point unité, un point échange, du point universel. L'unité d'échange universel, donc on va faire bien sûr cette intégration, l'unité d'échange universel, puis on va faire avec cet argent-là bien du bien commun. Avec tout cet argent-là, on va pouvoir financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, construire, bâtir les autoroutes, bâtir des centrales d'Hydro-Québec, bâtir les 44 tunnels, je veux qu'on construise 44, le chiffre après 43 avant 45, 44 tunnels à travers l'Amérique du Nord pour la protection dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire. Dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire en dehors de l'Amérique du Nord, en Asie ou en Europe, c'est possible. Fait que pour la continuité du collectif nord-américain, de la civilisation et de la survie des Nord-Américains, qu'on construit ces 44 tunnels. Puis on va pouvoir financer les gens, faire l'entraînement physique, financer les gens au tourisme, puis on va pouvoir rebâtir l'infrastructure, bien sûr, rebâtir les ponts, l'infrastructure, les aqueducs, on va faire bien du bien public, puis copain, parce que mon rêve, quand je dis prêter allégeance les jours, vous êtes famille, c'est fondamentalement mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, c'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé à travers le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. C'est complètement un partenariat public-privé, quand je dis la République démocratique de l'Amérique du Nord, puis moi je serais quand même un individu, puis vous serez aussi un individu. L'individu puis le collectif. Québécois, je serais quand même Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain, mais les États-Unis, c'est au sud du Québec, du Canada, du Québec. C'est comme Nord et Sud, une union du Nord puis du Sud, une union du Nord puis du Sud. Tu sais, c'est comme ça, vraiment, une union du Nord puis du Sud, parce que eux autres, nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis, sont au sud. Là-bas, c'est le sud. Puis nous, on est nord. On est comme le nord, puis eux autres, c'est comme le sud. Le nord, le sud, comme ensemble dans un sens. Mais la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette pour la création de l'unité d'échange universel, U point, unité, un point échange du point universel. Oui, l'unité d'échange universel, c'est ça qu'il faut. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution que celle-là. Ça prend un partenariat public-privé. Aujourd'hui, je vais méditer, puis je vais faire l'entraînement physique, puis je vais faire du nettoyage dans ma chambre pour la pleine lune, pour bien sûr. Je ne sais pas si je veux y aller sur le Mont-Royal. Là. Sur le Mont-Royal, j'y vais souvent, ou à toutes les semaines. Après 3 jours, je commence à me manquer. C'est ma deuxième maison de Mont-Royal. Mais bon, je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. Hein? Puis je vous encourage, puis je dois saluer d'avance parce que la tempête de neige s'en vient, fait que soyez prudents, puis faites attention sur les routes, mais bien sûr, puis ceux qui vont faire le déneigement, je vais vous chanter du rock'n'roll, inquiétez-vous pas. Ça va être un vigile de rock'n'roll peut-être demain, après-demain, vendredi, puis le nettoyage, puis peut-être c'est une semaine que je me repose aussi, parce que je pense que j'ai fait quand même du surentraînement, là, mais là, c'est le temps pour l'anglais puis le français, rock'n'roll, English and French, bilingual, on finit bilingue, switch English and French, le français puis l'anglais. It's time, c'est le temps. Yes, now the tariffs yet, North Americans Unite, invite us properly. Faites-nous invitation, comme il le faut. Puis, comme mon oncle avec sagesse a dit, ben, les tarifs sont pas encore sur place. Il n'y a pas de tarif officiellement. C'est possible, c'est possible, c'est possible. Là. Fait que, ça, je l'ai acheté même avant. Ça, je l'ai acheté avant. I bought this before. Florida, Florida, Florida. Orange juice with some pop. From Bradenton, Florida. Bradenton, Florida. Bradenton, Florida. Somebody dancing, kissing. Let's go. Let's go, North Americans Unite. Ah, gotta shake it. Gotta shake it, gotta shake it. Let's see. No coffee there. Don't want to mix it with some coffee, but cafe. Ah, let's open. I'm gonna keep half, maybe my anonymous friend. If gonna take half, half, half. Let's see. Smells good, smells good, smells good. Still smells good, still smells good. Dragon versus Trump, ça sent bon, ça sent bon. Dragon contre Trump. Florida orange juice, Florida orange juice. There's no tariffs yet. There's no tariffs yet. Please, don't make this Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA 3 times have to boycott. Because I got that Canada tatted up. And my brothers and sisters, we need to work together and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the North American Union, Send your best general to fight me some boxing. And if you don't want to box me, Trump, then send your best general and then others can stay on the run. Si Donald Trump veut pas me combattre dans un combat de boxe, envoyez le meilleur général des États-Unis puis pour me combattre ou banquer sur le Mont-Royal. Sinon, après ça, les autres. Après ça, les autres qui veulent me combattre dans un combat des autres. After that, the other one. So. Rock and roll. Dancing is my favorite sport. La danse est mon sport préféré. We drink it, we're not. On boit, on boit. It's good. C'est bon. It's good. C'est bon. See, it's good. In French, c'est bon. C'est pas pire. It's bon. C'est un bon jus. It's a good juice. C'est un bon jus. It's a good juice. It's a good juice. C'est un bon jus. It's a good juice. You know, we Quebecers like to love it. We Quebecers like come better make love with us. It's best. We Quebecers, we get a little bit of loving, So it's best to make that LOV, Invite us properly. Don't bully us with tariffs, 25%. Invitez-nous bien comme il le faut. S'il vous plaît, Monsieur Trump, pas le dragon arc-en-ciel ici. Faites-nous une invitation, les Québécois, bien comme il le faut, mais faites-nous pas de menaces avec des tarifs, tout ça. Là. On n'a pas de besoin. On vous aime, là, on vous aime, puis vous êtes notre famille, là. We love you and you're our family, Don't have to. Sometimes we just gotta put the gloves against the bully. Are you a bully? Je dois y demander. Last sandwich and that's it. Canadian US sandwich, un sandwich. Les œufs du Canada, produits du Canada, les œufs, le pain aussi. Le beurre, c'est un beurre végétal, vegan, mais c'est fait aux États-Unis. Puis la laitue romaine de la Californie, Fait que c'est nord-américain. Un North American sandwich. Breakfast, lunch. Oh. On the budget, simple but good. Sur un budget simple mais bon. Ah. 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 Red and white, red and white, red and white. Rouge et blanc, ça a besoin de bleu. I need some blue, blue, blue. In that red and on white, ça a besoin du bleu. And some black, and some black, and some black. Puis du noir, puis du noir, puis du noir. Noir et blanc, arc-en-ciel. Black and white and rainbow, black and white and rainbow, black and white and rainbow. We gotta get it, as you know. Well, we gotta get on the feet, you know, so we gotta get it for the... Ah. Ah. Mm. Oh. Ah, so good. That's why it's so good. On the budget, sur un budget, c'est très bon sur un budget, la sandwich. You know why it's good? Because it's North American joint. It's Canada, Québec, US. Pourquoi c'est si bon? Parce que c'est du Québec, hein? C'est du Québec, le pain du Québec. C'est le pain du Québec, c'est les îles du Québec. C'est avec les produits, les bars des États-Unis ensemble. That's why it's so good, because it's Canadian, Quebecer, USA together. Pour ça, c'est si bon. La sandwich pas, c'est ensemble. So it's be less good if it's not together. If we're not together, it's gonna be less good. Si on n'est pas, ça serait moins bon. It's gonna be less good. No? So, that's what it is. So that's what we got. Yeah. I was about to sing a little bit of a cuckold song, you know. J'étais après avoir chanté une petite chanson un peu arc-en-ciel, là, mais a little bit of well, not 18 plus, pas 18 ans et plus, là, parce qu'avec South Park, because of South Park and all that, kind of more 13 plus, 13 ans et plus, 13 ans et plus, 13 plus nowadays, I guess. Oh, oh yeah. That's it. That's all for today. Oh, that was good. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, thinking about those in the daycare, changing some diapers, and the electricians, the plumbers, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the production and the distribution of food. Je pense bien sûr à ceux qui sont sur l'autoroute maintenant, les camionneurs, tous ceux qui font le déneigement, dans le déneigement, les travailleurs en construction, et tous ceux bien sûr qui font l'entraînement physique, tous ceux bien sûr qui sont sur l'autoroute, les travailleurs d'Hydro-Québec, Go Hydro-Québec, Go, sending some love pour firefighters, les pompiers, firefighters, LOV, l'amour aux pompiers, bien sûr, la sécurité alimentaire, tous ceux qui sont dans tous les travailleurs, les workers, people's artists, rock and roll for les travailleurs qui ont fait moins de 50 000 en 2024. Let's go, rock and roll LOV.